yeah, it took me 10 years to really get into Photoshop, but after a year or two, invest 500 hours in it and you will be a pro. Then you need to invest another 1,000 or 2,000 hours and you're a master. Yeah.
I watch a lot of videos.
700-800 hours or maybe 1,000 hours now. I'm getting close to it after working.
I took Anna's Greyhawk Underdark Adventures logo she made for us, the purple one. I made it darker, and I didn't know how to do it by just highlighting, so I did it as a general hue change, and it worked. It worked great.
Yep.
So.
And then you can have a layer effect. That
and it was, and then I put that all in. It's like, oh my gosh, I did it.
Yep.
So, what's up, Mike?
Oh, I need to log into chat.
Yeah, so it's not that bad to use, but you know, you're right, it's not intuitive. I've asked Reaper for another new logo. Good. I like to hear that. One of the gift certificates we're giving away tonight will be a Reaper $25 gift certificate. So, some holiday gifts tonight coming. I can't say they're sponsor giveaways because these are courtesy of viewers that have given them to me to give away to all of you. So, nice stuff. Some generous participants.
Mike, how's the weather where you're at?
Perfect. 50s.
Perfect, huh?
Yeah, tomorrow will be in the 20s.
It's cold here. It's in the 60s. It's cold.
We're getting
it was 65
with a blizzard up here near Dill.
Okay. Yeah.
It'll change on a dime. I think we're supposed to have 20s the next 2 days, and then it shoots right back up into the 40s and 50s on Saturday. It's weird.
For us, we're just supposed to get all rain here in Jersey, but a lot of it. I think it's going to convert from snow over to rain. So we'll see. My son wants a white Christmas, of course, but you know, what are you gonna do? We had, you know, we don't get as much snow as we used to. Always feel like I'm forgetting something. But then, guess not.
How's the show doing? How are your numbers going?
I'm sorry, what was that?
No, like your viewers,
Things are going great. Things are going, yeah.
It seems like there's just like a lot of chatter. There's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's things are going fantastic.
A lot of names too that I don't recognize.
So for some reason that Gamescape one's louder than the other one's, Tom. There you go. Okay. Hey, there you, Mike.
Hello, Mike.
So just you know, the participation by everyone has been fantastic, and there was this nice post from Greyhawk. And things are just going up and up. Good to see you, Mike, on there. Good to see you, Kai, Romans, DM, Dave, Coma. Hello. Mate, please tell me that gift certificate worked this time. So, yeah, this artwork is wonderful. And where do you see the artwork? A lot more artwork coming for that Kickstarter, and it was very successful. And you know, Control Lord's been very kind to us, and Control Lord's also sponsoring. One of the sponsors for the Underdark Uprising 24 plus, it's actually 36 hours now, fundraiser we're having. Cool, glad to hear it worked. That's what I wanted to hear. It actually worked. Yes, and that's the way Steven Chenault runs it, man. Let me hit some announcements here. Alright, so I already did them, and we hit Troll Lord up right now, so there we go, getting caught up. Cool. Oh, here comes David. That's one thing I hate. I keep on looking up, looking up, looking up.
Yep.
Mike, I'll get you a hang out. It's going to be a great discussion. Really cool discussion tonight. We just gave away 2 whole sets of 3D STL files Monday night from Infinite Dimensions. I can't wait to get my hands on this stuff when this Kickstarter's over, but when the STLs are finalized, ready to go, and out to everyone.
Hello.
David!
Hello.
What's up? You're good, man. You're good.
There we go.
Yeah, they gave away the Ancient Cemetery bundle and the Medieval Slums bundle on Monday night. So, and their site is up. So, I did that backwards. I put Infinite Dimensions shout out up for Gamescape. See, I always make mistakes. So I did them in reverse. Fun discussion. Okay, here we go. Plus, now that we got all this proprietary music I got my hands on, and I give that credit to Dale Asher, who directed me to the Humble Bundle purchase for it. My gosh, it's great stuff. And he still, you can never hear it though, unfortunately, right?
Well, I have to. No, I can't hear it unless I tune in when I'm not on the show.
Yeah, so Tim Enoch Pratt, he got the Slums set from this company on Monday night, and I believe Notorious GMD got the Ancient Cemetery set. So, any solid writing on the 446 to 457 time frame detailing migrations? Wow. Well, we're gonna ask David that one when we come on. How's that sound? Antiquitous is the first. Mike, you want to paint some of this stuff for us? Well, what's it, Mike? Yeah, all right. Well, we can make that happen, man. Because we're having it all. So that would be unbelievable. Yeah, we could. You and Bill, we could get a joint thing going. Look at that. We got 5 minutes to go here. All right, Mike. So, where's Mike? No, this is on this one. Mike is the opening event of Greyhawk Adventures, part of Gary Con, like he was for Greyhawk Con. 8 or 9. 8 to 10 a.m. Central. It'll be daylight again. Central Daylight Time, Thursday of Greyhawk Con. Yeah, you are, man, because you're in that Thursday morning, Mike. So, yep. We're also up to 46 events, which is great. And I know 14 of them that are not in yet. Hit this. Ready? Here we come. All right, so tonight. Didn't know what logos and stuff to put up, so I'll just put up some publications. The history leading up to the Glossography. Be very, and Mike is the man, isn't he? Mind more of what's going on. Megan. Good to see you on. I have a Gary Julian lookout. So just to see, I do have Gary's article on Keelan and his timeline. I am not an expert, but it has a lot of the time frame. I'm sorry, I just got a text. We'll chat in a sec. All right. It's come on 2 minutes early tonight. How's that sound? Boom. A little early. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jay Killer Gazumba. This is our last stream before Christmas, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone. Great crew tonight. We have my co-host Anna B. Meyer and the great Greyhawk Mike Bridges. Welcome, both returning to the show. Please join both fantastic bloggers. We got Tommy John Kelly. Tommy, thanks for coming on.
You.
And we got David Leonard. Thank you, David, for coming on.
Yeah, we need you both.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, happy Festivus, Merry Christmas to all of you. And I don't know. So you get this. You have this publication, no matter where you have it, in the 80 version or 83, and you're like, man, I wish that this little section that it's written about in this gazetteer there was more. Right? You know, you go and it's really great discussion here. A brief history of Eastern Auric, you know, and the stuff leading up from, I guess, in the time frame which is year 1 common year up to 576. There's not that much in here. Most of it is about migrations. Mm-hmm. So there's like 576 years, and if we push up to the turmoil between crowns, there's only like 170. There's like 170 years of not much. There's a nice discussion on the Battle of Emerald Meadows, but there's really not a ton of data there. But at least I think we have
trying to sum up real world history that concise.
That's true. That's true. But
Yeah.
it's nice to say, hey, this is what was going on, and this is why we got to this point. And I think that's what I wanted to discuss tonight and see what kind of perspectives we get from everyone. And David and Tommy are great and with some ideas and with some discussion points, whether it's your own make or your own spin or whatever. I think it's going to be a very interesting conversation. David, what do you think about this? Talking about closer history to the Glossography beginning.
But just along the migrations.
Well,
I think it's great that there's nothing written about it. That way you can fill in the gaps yourself.
Right, and a lot of the discussion tonight's going to be stuff that you've both filled in a little bit, correct? I mean, Tommy, right? Yours is going to be a lot of Hateful Wars discussion that you've really come up with some fantastic stories.
Yeah, right.
Which is really cool, and because I love this era. It kind of reminds me of the Second Age. You know, the Second Age in Middle Earth is like all this great storyline on Numenor and the Witch King of Angmar, but just there's not that much. But it would be great to go back and really get in depth. They're supposed to even have a TV show down the road one day about this the end of the Second Age, and we'll see. That would be really cool. But I think this kind of reminds me a little bit of that era. Is that there's a lot of wonderful things going on, and Keelan's expansion and all. But let's bounce around a little bit. So, Mike, what's your thoughts on the discussion tonight?
Boy, my thoughts is bouncing around is a bad idea.
Yeah, you think so? Okay.
I was really concerned earlier today. I'm like, are we doing this chronologically, or are we going to bounce around? Because we bounce around it.
We're bounce arounders.
Yeah.
I guess that happens. Yeah.
But we don't have to. I mean, we can start at a point and say, hey, let's just.
Yeah, because if you do it chronologically, that runs the risk of us not getting through.
Yeah,
right.
We will not get to the
that
juicy bits
right?
until the 2 hours is then. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Greetings from Iceland. Saw your stream the other day and been looking forward to seeing. Thanks. Master Zero.
Welcome.
So I think you just followed the last show on the game on Monday night, if I believe correctly. Well, thank you so very much. I think you are our first viewer that I know of from Iceland.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. So Anna's got some close ties, blood-wise, being from Sweden. So there you go.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, we have some other Scandinavian or Norse kind of connections here. So yep.
That's awesome.
Master, if you don't know much about Greyhawk, you're about to.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's really cool. Really, really cool. And thank you, Canadian, for that gift sub to
Yeah.
Master.
Nice.
Really a nice gesture there. All right. So migration-wise, David, we had a question already in the audience from Antiquitous. What year up did migrations like go to in common year? Were they going continuously?
Well, they started before. Well, they started during the Sul Imperial War with the Bad Clonish. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And it began even before that. It also, I think, it really began as soon as the Flan began getting enslaved. Is the moment that they began to hightail it out of the west across the crystal mists into what would become the Flaness.
Okay.
So.
I mean,
What year
we're
was
talking
that specifically?
we talking like minus 300-400, something like that in common years, I think.
Yeah. Okay. I'm working on a spreadsheet here. It also it's like, and it's enormous right now. And also,
Awesome.
Yeah, I have a
So-
spread. I have a Notion article where I put events, historic
Okay.
events. I have like 200.
You guys
of
are
them or
working too hard.
So well, the Flan in this basically the first mention of the Flan is during the year of the conquest and prosperity, and that was in minus 2269 CY, and that, and then minus 2266 is when they began to flee the lands across what would become the Hell Furnaces, which were the Southern Crystal Mists at the time, right?
Okay.
So that's way before the regular migrations, and it had to be because we had all of the Earthlands, all of their empires, right? You had Vecna at Olson's Lake in the Sheldamar Valley, more or less, right? And then I'm assuming at Olson's Lake, I'm going to put my own spin on it and say that Caraptus was developing his empire up in the northeast, and I'm pulling a blank right now, and also it's like, but who is the one who did the that other classic module at all?
Serarak? You're thinking a
No,
Serarak?
he would have been around Sunday, right? And then there was another one, which was so we had White Plume Mountain, and we had, what was the other Funhouse module? The classic one.
Not Ghost Tower of Inverness.
Ghost Tower of Inverness. And also, it's like
who was behind
when you
that
consider
one?
the power of what that module is, the fact that you even travel way back in time to where it is. So he's Earthland. He has to be.
For the layman, tell us what the difference between Earthland and Flan is, please.
Is there much of a difference?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I just assumed it also it's like that they were one of the tribes of, and so therefore, that's my take on it. Also, I'm pretty sure that Gary Hollian has a whole lot more information about something like that. Maybe.
Yeah, Gary's hiding right now. He's not on yet, so remember, Gary may have some children.
Get all this information in before he comes in and debunks us.
But I take it that before the Iridians and the Sulwas and they came in, you had the elves and you have the Flan, and then in the Flan you had various different, they kind of rose in civilization levels, and then when you got Vecna and Caraptus and a bunch of them, and Urflan is kind of one of these things in Flan, and then you have they peaked in Zulm and Old Alyssa, and then a whole bunch of old Flan stuff that is kind of pre-migrations, and then comes the Greyhawk that we know after that, so to speak. That's my very kind of overview of the story, so to speak, of the Flannies.
Well, the very earliest mentions even of the elves is the Valley Elves. We're in the Valley of the Mage, 14,000 CY.
Wow.
And then the Elven history, the Grey Elven history, begins to get recorded back in minus 7256 CY.
Yeah.
So, there's huge amounts of
there's a lot of history there that's just big swaths of history. Most of what we actually have in the sources is just the last couple hundred years. That's where you have all of your major narratives and major players, and stories coming forth. That's where the hateful wars are going to rest. That's where the Mad Mage is going to rest, and the Igwil stories. It's just a couple hundred years before the campaigns start in 576. So before that, it's really just a blank slate. It's wide open, very broad strokes.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only thing we really have for that far back is what Len Lakaka and Steve Wilson pretty much penned for the Orth Journal.
Yeah.
Sure. I don't know how canon we want to make that.
Right. And I saw that Amy Crittenden did a nice thing on Cannon Fire about all the Sul tribes, the 12 tribes. I think she just posted that up. So that was neat. I think that just went up a few days ago. So I think she compiled a lot of that information. So I guess we'll just start somewhere and see where it leads. How's that sound?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've asked this question before, and you got to remember, I'm next year I turn 54, so my brain is much of a sieve. Common Year number 1 starts when the Overking is crowned in Roxas, which means the Great Kingdom. The Great Kingdom exists before that, though, right? This is just the Overking of these.
It's when they become an empire.
Yeah, the Empire of
Airdian.
Airdian. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it also says here that the frontiers reach Greyhawk City, which means Greyhawk City was there already, whatever it was, though. Is anyone?
Yeah, you had the. Oh, sorry.
No, go,
I was
please.
Going to say, I have a little bit of. I studied it when I redid my campaign map on Greyhawk. So he started with the barony of Salinton, and that was the old kind of before the Great Kingdom invaded and kind of took control of the area, so to speak. And then it became Greyhawk. So I don't know. We don't know exactly what but the name Greyhawk might have been there before. But it was the barony of Salinton, and it was the baron, and then it kind of turned gradually into the city when the Airdians came in and took over and became a staging point in the westward expansions of the Great Kingdom. So that's as far as I know about the early days. So yeah.
Okay. All right. What's the ethos? Anyone want to take a step? What's the ethos of the Great Kingdom at this point in Airdi?
Wait, at which point?
In the
Year 1.
You mean when it formed?
Year 1.
Think it's lawful neutral, I think.
So it's like Nyrond is today. That's what I'm trying to get a perspective.
It's more like an empire without too much alignment. Good.
Is it like Rome, the Republic of Rome?
Like when Augustus is, in the reign of Augustus in the first century, before everybody had gotten into all that lead poisoning from their goblets and their Roman plumbing, and you had all those crazy Caesars, So you kind of there's sort of a parallel that happens with the Great Kingdom between what happened with the Roman Empire is you have this descent with the Roman Empire, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different theories about what happened here with this madness of the emperors. But we have the same in Greyhawk. We know what happened. It was the devil. But it's there. You can kind of like look at that early first century Roman Empire and make that your year 1 in Greyhawk. And hey, it's Christmas, so there we go. It's common year. It's the common year, common era.
Okay.
I see the early Great Kingdom as a civilizing attempt more than anything, so to speak, meaning all these old Flan traditions and whatnot. Now we need to build institutions, and we need to kind of bring this up to a higher civilization level. And then the more naked power ambitions came and corruption and all that afterward.
Right.
And the Knight Protectors,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And the Knight Protectors had a good side and a bad side, but they were kind of an organizing side more than anything. I think pacify, organize, and bring prosperity, kind of. And then,
unpopular opinion, they were always neutral to evil.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't say they were good, but
I'd say
I don't say
they
they
were
were
closer to evil. Yeah, because you had Lum and you had, it's like all these, like they literally just ripped right across the entire continent, and then they rewrote history at us, and they said we are the shining celestial empire.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my turn.
Oh, hey, that's. But didn't they?
Yeah.
Wasn't there Heronius and Hexter worshippers though in the Knights Protectorate? I thought it was both.
Exactly. And you have like, if you look at what's going on in Furiundi and you look at what's going on with the Knights of the Holy Shielding, that's some of that old honor, that old Iridian honor of the Great Kingdom. That's like Harold, goes back, way back to these noble aspirations and this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it was just so much veneer over a neutral evil imperial conquest, or maybe that's just David being a woke redactor who's
No,
saying, is like coming down on this imperialism.
Yeah,
Could
but I
be.
see.
Could be.
I think you're a good point, but I also think that my theory is that when things started to grow stale and more naked power ambition and corrupt in Rossies, the good ones kind of joined the expansion westward and stuff, and kind of fled the capital city and all the deprivations of Rossies that was starting to feed in, and that's why we have the Order of the Heart and the Knight of Holy Shielding and stuff that are the good descenders of the descendants of the good part of the Knight Protectors that kind of
Exactly,
became the
right.
bulwark of Furiundi and Veluna and Shieldlands.
Right.
That's
They're
my
reading-
kind of idea.
Those guys are reading the romances and the sagas
Yep.
of the Knights Defender, and they're finding their inspiration in that.
Yeah.
Even if that was just the conquerors writing history, it's inspired this romanticism like we have in the.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong.
Arthur, right?
I don't believe that every single spot within the Empire was bad. After all, it's like when you really consider, unlike Almar and Nyrond, and also it's like they were always far more shining beacons. Same thing with the Bone March, and also at its very beginning. And also, so with the further
from Rossies
west you got, it seemed like they were a little bit better. And also, it's like, but that said, it's like Empire by itself. And also, it's like is never particularly good.
Yeah, I took it that power corrupts. So Great Kingdom got worse in Rossies, and it kind of and some other provinces like Bone March and others, but other areas like Nairon, Veluna, Furiundi, and Shieldlands and stuff. That's where the good guys won, so to speak.
Oh, Bone March was always good. And also, like if you really consider, because that's where the bastion of the Knights Protector really were.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until later on, and also when Grenell took over that he got a little bit sour. All the other spots don't really, other than say Sundi, and even Sundi's not really part of the original Kingdom of Airdi. They, nothing that you mentioned that's in canon is really complementary towards, the Kingdom of Airdi. That really isn't. It's like I said, so when you had Lum and so on, and also it's like they were literally rampaging across the entire world, pressing the Sul and the Flan out of their ways. It's like, and that just doesn't sound like happy feel good love time.
No, but I bet that their excuse was to civilize these bastards that don't know.
Barbarians.
Exactly, barbarians. Yes.
There is a lot of parallel to Rome. Barbarians.
True, but remember, the Kingdom of Alyssa.
That's interesting
because was actually quite nice. It's like and they were just wiped out.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, that term is even after the wars, the Alyssa is still there in one shape, and is still now even United Kingdom of Alyssa after the war. So it's kind of that that had enough civilization to actually kind of live on in a new form even after all the Iridian takeover and whatnot. So
I think
I got a question.
I think it's naked ambition. It's just it's a very gritty human kind of world that Gygax was trying to create.
For sure.
Go ahead, Mike.
All right, so Airdian Migration.
Iridian Migration.
No, I'm talking about the Airdi.
The Airdi itself. Okay, the Airdi itself.
So
okay, the
what's
kingdom.
the official reason why they traversed all the way across the Flannis until they couldn't go any farther, and then that's where the Kingdom of Airdi was founded? I think that's, and then then you're conquering in reverse migration direction, right? Okay, so that seems kind of counterintuitive to me. If they were really going to be Roman Empire they would have migrated to like where Friandi's at, and then struck out from there. Q-Land made sense. They went to Q-Land, then struck out. The Airdi went all the way across and then came all the way back.
Yeah.
It just seems a little odd to me. But
Well,
to me, I have a perfect theory on what that happened.
Okay.
It's that originally when they came across, there were already established empires, meaning you had the elves, you had the Flan, and even Keoland and others were still there, already there. And then when they got a lot of intruders, they don't like them, so they start chasing them. And the Iridians were weak, meaning they were fleeing east. And then when they finally find an area they were strong enough to dominate, that were actually good to settle in. And that meant that's when their imperial ambitions, and I think they felt like we have now struggled for 500 years or more, and now we can build an empire. And that's when they started feeling strong, and then they got to their head, and they wanted to dominate everything. And then they simply started backtracking because that was the only obvious way to go, so to speak. So I took it as kind of going revenge, meaning we have been basically hunted up to the end of the world, and then we settled down, grew strong, and started to kind of get even on everybody else, so to speak.
And the Great Kingdom expert is sure he agrees with you in chat. So, very, very cool.
On here.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's breathing room too. Remember that the Sul pretty much are in control of the Sheldamar Valley, right? With Keelan. It's like, I know it's a mix between them and Iridian, and also it's like with some minor Flan and demi-humans and also, but the ones who are in control of Kaelan and therefore the entire Sheldamar Valley, and also are still kind of the Sul. They're the blue bloods. So when the Iridians were moving, like Anna says, and also they were being hounded and chased also by the humanoids, by orcs and such. And it's like, I think that they were looking for, like room to grow. It's like, and they found it on the other side of up the near dip.
Yeah, and also it was the sissies of the Iridians, that meaning that they're not warlike. The weakest of that stayed because they probably didn't want to go any further. That stayed and surrendered to the Sul and formed the Keoland, and that is probably not seen as well by the other, the true one that stayed true to the course and kind of stayed Iridian all the way, so to speak.
The Neyron stay behind when they were almost there.
Yeah.
The Farand, why did they stay behind? They're not wussies.
Fertile land, are like cool. I just
but the Pharaons were the ones
they
that
got
I
there
think
first.
Exactly, they came, but the Pharaons came. They were the ones that reconquered it, I think, not the ones that stayed original. They reconquered it from the east.
Okay.
And they were the true kind of pioneers at going. And but the interesting thing is that they also made peace with the ones that were in the Vol. So that's why the Luna was created differently.
Question was, where do we find that numbered map? And I was just explaining. Most of the stuff I have is from this Glossography.
But now I'm babbling too much.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
Babbling is great. I mean, because a lot of it's conjecture, right?
Anyhow, when you're talking history, usually wars and battles are significant markers to, turning points in history and whatever. So what I see in the Airdi thing is you got the kingdom of Airdi and the kingdom of Neyron. I'm imagining at one point they were pretty equal. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
But I think it was roughly 100 years after Airdi was founded, then they have that Battle of Fortnight's Length. And that was like the decisive battle. Whoever wins that ends up being, the empire. So it could have just as easily been the great kingdom of Neyron.
All right. So that is on here before year one. Let's discuss that in general. Who wants to take up Battle of a Fortnight's Length, which is on this Glossography map right before year one. Anyone here want to take that up?
I hope that David.
It looks like it's going to be Mike. You brought
My
it
knowledge
up.
on that's kind of sketchy. The main key point to that is it was there's a cavalry battle component to it.
Where
did it happen?
Yes.
In Neyron.
In Neyron. Okay, and it's
Exact
Airdi.
location? Don't know.
Yep.
Okay.
I think Neyron was supposed to be favored because of their cavalry, and through whatever means, the Airdi defeated that, and this breaks the Nehron's spirit. They get conquered or whatever.
Okay.
Maybe
Yeah.
they sued for peace. I don't know.
Okay.
But like you said, that established Rossi's and that side of
Pretty much after that, it
yeah.
all kind of fell into place. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it took like 300 years or something like that, and then they rebelled again and became
And
independent.
then everything
So, yeah.
fractures
Fell apart.
off from
Yep.
it. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. If to really sum it up, I'm
Yeah.
sure
And
there's
that
a lot
was
of
year
other little things that happen
yeah.
in there.
So this
common
is
year 9 years before the crowning of
right,
if I
but the
remember
Battle of
correctly.
Fort Ninth Links is actually minus 110.
Yeah, minus 110.
Minus
Oh,
110.
okay. 110.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 110
Yep.
years
Mhm.
before Common Year 1.
Yep.
And then there's a 200-year gap, too. And I asked this before, and this is what I said. I'm 54, and I don't remember things a lot of times. Why in 213 does it say Age of Great Sorrow commences on this map? I mean, on this timeline. Why does it say that? And as you can see, or maybe you can't, right there, Age of Great Sorrow commences. Why there? Does anyone want to? Is that when it started breaking? Great Kingdom starts breaking.
There was a prophecy of
Okay.
a few decades prior to that. It also said like that the Great Sorrow was going to come, and I think that was about the time that the Celestial Houses started to cannibalize each other. They started fighting. So, and that was essentially, in my book, it also maybe the beginnings of the breakup of the Great Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't the end of it. It also, but it was it was the sneeze that started the cold.
Yep.
Because nowhere on this timeline does it say it's ended.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, because
it fell apart in the Greyhawk Wars. That's when
So-
the last of Ivid was disposed of, and
Okay.
yeah.
and I had a Finn in my campaign before 1980. We had a war. I had a war between Keelan and the Sea Princes, and I called it the Sorrowful Wars because of that. So it just made sense, right?
yeah.
And then Tommy's really developed the Hateful Wars, which
Wasn't there a comet or something for
Yep.
Yeah,
that's
like
in
200
Greyhawk
years,
Adventures?
minus 200.
Yep.
Oh,
Minus
okay.
213, I think.
That
It's
predi-
like an
Yeah.
omen that
Mhm.
this is
Okay.
the beginning of the end of the collapse.
Very cool. So we're going to be bouncing all around, throwing things out there. So and I appreciated Jim. He's saying it's a real fun discussion. He asked Jim Sugia asked the question, "How do you pronounce Roxas? Rauxex? I pronounce Xes. Did I pronounce that right? Roxas.
Go with
Yeah,
that.
that's how. Yeah, a lot of people say Rossi's, but I say Roxas. That's
I
how I
say
like to say it.
Roxas.
Yeah, but
I go
yeah.
for that X. Rocks.
Yeah, Roxas.
Okay. As Sure has pointed out in 213, there was a Black Death plague as well.
Oh.
All right, kind of like what happened in it's Constantinople in 537. Not the Black Death. This one was worse actually in 537. Way worse than the Black Death. Justinian even got it, and he survived it though. But yeah, okay. So possibly from the Medio. That's a great point, Assure. I did invite Assure on, but he was like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, you're good, you're good. But hey, from the audience is good. You've taken the Gary Julian role tonight,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Yep.
But I'm like Rojas.
Rojas.
Roxas is Rojas. I've always said Roxas as even
Yeah,
as a
I
kid.
like Roxas much more than
Yeah.
Roxas.
I go French, so okay. Well, you know what? How many different pronunciations of Rennie is there? Ayus, Ouija. There's so many different ones, which is kind of the little bit of the allure of Greyhawk, I think, having a bunch of different ones. So Tommy, in this era of when the Great Sorrow commences, what's going on with the elves and Selene and Duchy of Ulick and your area of expertise? Is there anything, or are they just keeping to themselves? This is like
Actually, you know what? There's actually a really good write-up on this in an earlier Oerth journal
okay.
about what was going on in the Ulick states prior to the Hateful Wars. And it's the situation is that you've got these elven kingdoms that have been receding. And so by the time we come into the campaign year, there's just outposts. Like Selene is an outpost of what was once a much vaster elven presence in the world. And likewise, what becomes the duchy of Ulick is just an outpost of what was a much larger elven presence. And so as the age of men has driven the demi-humans out, you sort of see this crossing. It's very much a Middle Earth kind of thing, where there's this crossing where the men are in ascendance and the demi-humans are disappearing. And so when we come into the campaign era, 576, we're looking at the tail end of that transition. So I don't know
Okay.
specifically, what are you looking for?
Well, that's a great answer in itself. But for those pre-hateful wars, which is what time? What's the official date of the start when they start throwing out the humanoids in the Lort Mills, or it actually start before that? The hateful.
Yeah, it's 490.
Okay.
It starts before that. I mean, you've got this. It's building up tensions between the Dwarven kingdoms in the Lort Mills, and the Dwarves really think of the Lort Mill Mountains as their eternal possession, their inheritance from the gods. And the truth of the matter is that the humanoids have been there in the Lort Mill Mountains even longer than the Dwarves. And so you have two different populations who consider this their sacred land, their sacred possession. And so they're going to continually be in conflict, both of them feeling like they're fighting with the gods on their side. And then the surrounding kingdoms get dragged into this conflict.
Okay.
That's the hateful wars. It's a vendetta between the Dwarves and the humanoids in the Lort Mill Mountains that the surrounding kingdoms, the surrounding states get dragged into. And what creates it, what sets it off, is after Keelan's expansionist phase, because Keelan they had their short imperial run where they were holding territories, much wider territories, and they get that turned around in the short war, and then Selene actually under Queen Yolande, one of the reasons she becomes the leader of Selene is because she organizes a rebellion against Keeland and drags in these other states. And
what year does that happen?
Well, this is not so very much. This is around 450. Okay, so this is around 450 CY. She drags in these other states, such as the Principality, but it's not the Principality yet. It's still the Dwarven Kingdom of Balnerhawk, and all of this, I'm not making this up. I've just pulled this out of sources and out of Orth Journal. She pulls all this stuff together and drives Keeland out in a very short revolution. And then out of that, you have the three Ulick states form independently, and Selene regains her independence, the independence of the Elven Kingdom of Selene. They had been vassals of Keeland up to that point.
See, I didn't know that about Selene. I thought it was just the Ulick states. Okay.
Yeah, Selene also had been a vassal state of Keeland. So after this, with Keeland withdrawing their soldiers, and they had been holding all of these trade routes and protecting these trade routes, Keeland pulls back and says, okay, you can deal with the goblins yourself. And none of these states are prepared to deal with the humanoids. And so the humanoids being, reproducing as quickly as they do, the balance of power shifts very quickly after Keeland withdraws. And so this is the situation that it creates the powder keg that goes off with the hateful wars.
Okay, so a couple questions here. Prince Lushan Selark VI dies in the Battle of Gorna. Is that during the Short War? 450.
I don't know.
Is that 450?
Yeah, I don't know.
So, okay, all right, because this is the Gary Julian timeline for Keeland, Imperial Keeland.
Okay.
So that's why there he is. There he is. So Gary, did Prince
Dun, dun, dun.
Lucian Celarc VI die in the Battle of Gorna? Is that part of the short war? That's my question. Okay. All right. See what the answer is here. And Gary, of course, you're always welcome to hop on, please. So there, Imperial Kierland is a lot of. If we just jump before the Hateful Wars and the founding of all the demi-human realms, Kierland is in its might all this time frame.
It's expansionist phase.
Okay, that's we're all over the place, Gary. This is fun. So, I don't even know where to begin on that. David, you got any idea?
Kierland had designs on. They had Pomarch. It was called the Poor March. Thank you, Joe Block. Right? It was it was called the Poor March of Kierland, and so they had that entire tract of land all the way to the water.
Yeah, they founded Blue and probably Highport and a bunch of the places there during their stay, so to speak.
Right, and so you can look at the withdrawal of Kierland as actually creating this power vacuum that has shaped the map, we would.
I have one more theory to add to that, because I totally agree with all of it. But one of the other reasons I think that the elves were in trouble back then was that was the fate. I see it as you have originally an elven realm from Selene and all down that all the way through what is today Furbolg, Veluna, and all the way up to the High Vale and up in West. That was one long elven realm.
One big elven.
Yeah, and then it was kind of under attack from the Kiosh Empire and from the Airidians that conquered that part, so to speak, that split it up into many different parts, and it became that was kind of part of the turmoil.
The power had been broken by the wars with Vecna.
Yep, exactly. That was the first kind of thing that kind of got it set back, and then they got setback after setback for almost 1,000 years or more, and now they're coming back in my campaign, so to speak.
Oh, they're ascending.
First time in 1,000 years they're coming back. Yep.
All right, so Gaetano asked an important question. And this is why I wanted to bring these up. What are the primary source materials for pre-576? It's not from the ashes.
They're spread out. It's all little tidbits here. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's a little tidbit here. There's a mentioning there. There's a date here and there. So
and David and Tommy have done a great job in what they do and putting
you have to ask the experts here that put together
all over the place.
Look, I would suggest that anybody who really wants to dig into this just get a copy of the Great Chrondex and start working through the Great Chrondex and look at the sources and
the what?
The Great Chrondex.
That's Steve Wilson's where when he worked out the timeline. But between that and the Zavoda Index, that you can find on Cannon Fire and on Greyhawk Online, and also it's like anybody can do what I'm doing. And also it's like I just start searching and I start putting it together.
Okay. Very cool.
I'm not as hardcore of a fan of the Grey Chrondex. I know the Living Greyhawk Gazetteer maybe culled a lot of the best sources into something, and then the farther back in history you go, the little, crazier it gets depending on what your source is, Orth Journal or whatever.
Oh yeah, well, when you read the Great Chrondex, also you can tell that even Wilson was having a huge problem with it, because there's notations throughout that says that this date conflicts with that date, and so is all the different sources, the modules, the Dragon articles and so on, they all contradicted each other. So he did his best, and then I think the Gazetteer people, they did even a more phenomenal job trying to iron out all those wrinkles.
It reminds me of Star Wars books, Star Trek books. They all contradict each other, right? So we got the same thing here based on articles.
So does the history of Earth. If we were to follow each different historians, especially ancient historians.
Oh yeah.
There's you read Herodotus, and it's like you're probably dealing with about 50% legend and 50% that he had knew something about something.
Yeah.
And there's so much hearsay too. And also when you're reading like the Arabic historians back in the 900s, it's like they're just taking wild stabs at what was beyond their borders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an interesting side topic going on in chat. So Blood Wild was asking about information on Neural and Ozolin and stuff like that. And I think interestingly, we know as much about Ozolin's kingdom probably as we know about Vecna's, I would argue. That I think a lot of Vecna's stuff, didn't that come from Steve Wilson's timeline?
Well, a lot of it came from your graphic novel, right? Didn't it?
Well,
What?
comic books, I don't know.
There's that other comic book too. It's like that seems to, capture a lot of people's imagination. But I'm just slightly confused when I see it all because, you hear that where the occluded empire is in the Sheldamar Valley, supposedly maybe even centered on the Rushmore swamp. But meanwhile, it's like there's also all these notations and also that he was on the Isle of Woe in the near dig.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
where was it?
That's why I kind of pull back and I stick with game source material sometimes.
But when you create it for your campaign and you say it is here, it's nailed down.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so like the Ozolin stuff, depending on how deep you want to dig, might not even have to be official. If you didn't ever use him, I don't think it would change any of the significant history of the world Greyhawk.
So I wish I had Gary on because we're talking about we're all over the place, which is great and I love it, but he's got a note in this Imperial Keelan. It says 292 CY, peers of Ulick join the Council of Neoldra. So are they attempting to get along there? Is that what that means? I mean, right? And that's yeah.
Yeah, so that's they're getting representation.
Okay.
They're receiving representation in the council.
Okay.
Is that after the split or way before the split?
That's before.
Yeah, this is 292 CY.
That's as we're all one big happy growing Keeland at that point.
Yeah, so they would have been provinces or states within a greater the greater empire.
Yeah.
Because this is during the reign of 287 to 346. Holy schmolies. Tavish the First of House Rolla the Great.
Yeah.
That's a long
stuff.
Yeah. And then Tavish the Second was almost as long too. The Blackguard. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, but Keelan was really peaceful. So I guess the kings survived long. There was not that many being killed and stuff. So.
All right. So yeah, Gary says it saw it as benevolent. So all right, we got. It appears that you have expansion on Airdi, and then Airdi starts breaking up first. And while Airdi's breaking up, and I guess Furundi and Valuna are separating at that point, right? And Shieldlands and all are becoming their own kingdoms. Keeland's still expanding.
Well, remember, Keelan was expanding. They hadn't even hit their big empire days, and also when they were trying to conquer everyone, and also, but when the Airdi Empire or Kingdom of Airdi was in existence, they were like Furundi, as far as I'm aware, was still a vassal state. But by that time, considering it was so far away, they created divers to take care. It was almost like this Byzantine portion of the empire. It also it's
rule
so
the
big,
west
you have to have
and
the east and a west.
Yep.
And then by a certain period of time, where was it? Was it in like minus 200 or 200? What 200? I forget. It also it's like I'm older than you are, right? Jay, so it's like anyway. So at that point, that's when Nyrond and Valuna kind of just said, "What do we need you for?" And also, it's like you're so interested in the East, you have no interest in us, and so they just started.
Yeah, they also degraded. Meaning they were corrupted, and the over kings started to degrade and became more and more corrupt at home in Roxy. Yeah.
Wow.
A very short empire.
Well. Most empires don't last that many centuries.
It's true. Rome was sort of an exception, and ordinarily,
Keelan's older than the Great Kingdom, though. Too.
Oh yeah, Keelan is the old man of empires
Okay.
in the Flannies. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
think about it, Rome only lasted for like 400 years. It also before it began to collapse. You know,
Yep.
so,
And the eastern part lasted as long thereafter, so to speak. So
I guess I always compare that to the Sewell Empire, which had a Egyptian length, rule,
yeah,
right?
back in the day.
And
yeah.
so you're fleeing from the Sewell, and then now the Airdi have their chance to be an empire. Nah, they didn't last for long. They broke up quick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh well.
I find one thing interesting, and that is whenever we're doing areas of discussion, I find that there's a flank kingdom there I never knew existed. Like the oldest one is that in Sunday?
Mm.
What was
You
the one
mean
that's near Iron Gate? There, I was like, oh my god, there was a flank kingdom there.
Alyssa was the Flan Kingdom there near Iron Gate. That was
Okay.
the big one. Yeah,
Okay.
there. Yeah.
Was that the oldest? That's the oldest one. I thought there was another one there.
Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch of
Okay.
them.
And
Many different places. And then the Bright Desert used to be Suleiman and a bunch of Flan kingdoms before.
We're sliding into ancient history.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's my own fault.
Yeah.
It's all my own
But
fault.
Kingdom
for
of
asking
Alyssa
stuff.
is one of the, I think, the most known one because it's the one that kind of survived in some way or form into
yeah, it
modern
lasted
days.
right up to
Which one?
Was it-
Alyssa. Yeah.
Okay, listen. But wasn't it after From the Ashes and on one of the maps? Didn't they start calling it the Kingdom of Alyssa again?
Oh yeah, United Kingdom of Alyssa. After the
Okay.
southern province became the United Kingdom of Alyssa after
It
the
was a rebranding thing to make themselves
okay.
look
Yeah.
good.
All right.
Yeah, they look good.
used
And also, when you really look at their history, they're not.
yeah, so they look back at glorious history and
We're right
picked
back to
the-
that all over again, and
Yeah,
also the entire
Yep.
kingdom
Yep.
is a little bit larger.
Trade with
And
us. We're the kingdom of Alyssa. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gary says the Airdian admired the Flan of Alyssa, and the peak was only from 100 CY to 254, so only 150
Yeah.
years plus, and that's it for the Airdi.
Yeah.
All right, so according to the base glossography timeline, 320 says that I'm sorry, 356 has the date Kingdom of Nyrond is established. So I guess that's a huge breakaway from not Keeland, from the Great Kingdom at that point. The biggest one?
That's the big split. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the Great Kingdom, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because right then, that's when the Great Kingdom says, whoa, 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 and they start sending their armies north. And also, it just happens that was the Great Brutzi invasion at the same time, so they had to divert, and then they spent themselves, and they couldn't reel Nyrond back in. So when they went, then the Pale went, and
Right, it's a domino effect at that point, yeah.
Yeah, and it just gone.
Yep.
Just like
Yep.
Rome.
I read about that on your blog, David.
Yeah.
And I think Sunday was pretty much gone about that time too.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
they
because
took the
as soon
chance
as they're
to-
gone, then you have the Iron Iron League,
Yeah,
and
yeah, exactly. That was created and yeah, so it kind of fell apart very quickly.
so you had the Iron League to the south, and then Nyrond gets in with them, and they become the Golden League, I suppose, by that time. Right?
Yeah. And then you have Olmor that became kind of a border state between the two,
Mhm.
and
And
yeah.
they only continued to exist really because of Nyrond.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Until the war when they were annihilated because they happened to be in between the two powers that
And
wanted
you
to
would have
fight.
think that the Duchy of Ernsten would have really supported Nyrond as well.
Yeah.
They should have, but also because if there was a good, the Sewell Kingdom, and also it's like they might be a good candidate of it. It's like I'm still unconvinced at also with Kayland at also, but I haven't really gotten there yet. I'm working my way around. If you notice the histories and also, but now that I'm doing other things.
In my campaign, that's what they want to do. But the Nyrond and Ernst are now realizing that they have kind of chaos and evil and stuff on borders in every direction. So they are now coordinating their efforts and trying to see if they can hammer out some sort of union, because they want to now be the big representative of ARD culture and the strong nation. And if they can unite together, they could probably be the strongest nation in the Flannies. And they're thinking about it, but there's a lot of political wills that needs to kind of get together. They most of them realize the potential, but they still want to grab a bigger the biggest piece of the pie, each of them. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Ulman would have been all right if it wasn't for Austin's raid, because as soon as that happened, then what's his name? It's like Reynold. Is that his name? And also the
Reynold
Archmage.
in South Province. Yeah.
Well, he's the one who decided that it's like that he was going to pounce on Ulman, and that was the end.
Yeah,
of it,
and then you have Duke Sephrin that was sent out by Rossis to kind of finish up the job and basically turn it into dust. Kind of, yeah, almost.
Wow. So
and Rail Devon kind of became the part that were kind of survived to somewhat, so to speak. And so that part, United Kingdom of Melissa is one of the most interesting nations, I think, in modern late Flanese, because it has basically everything. It's, if you want a perfect mini setting that has everything from the most evil to the good, then that's the realm to go to.
Yeah. Oh, remember, they're still in Rox's back pocket. So like in a way, even though like you know, that insanity of that that city, and also I don't think it's really in control of anything. But you know, they gave up Austin, and he's you know in the basements of Rox's somewhere. And also it's like in perpetual torture and death. So you know, the wonderful great kingdom all over again.
Yep. It's a lot of interesting. If you want to have like one of these kingdom political campaigns, that's the area you can kind of nail down and concentrate on. Yeah,
you know, I think that real history and also Greyhawk kind of really does begin with the twin cataclysms. You know, because everything before that is just, you know, hearsay and you know, supposition.
Yeah, we don't even know where they came from.
Yeah, you have to go to the Orth Journal really to get anything before that, and also it's like, and then like we were saying, the actual migrations are pretty sketchy. It also it's like they're left wide open, and it's not until you start developing Kaeland and the Great Kingdom, and also that history really begins. So one thing, you know, we were discussing like the Hateful Wars, and also because you know, obviously we have someone on the council here. It also it's like who's a bit of an expert. And what I'm curious about, it also it's like, is it still really going on? I know they declared it the end. It also it's like, but it can't be. It also it's like with Turosh Mag, you know, like in that with Turosh Mag, is that his name?
Yeah,
Is it still going on, really?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the whole thing with Turosh Mak, is the idea that they're going to retake the Lortmill Mountains. They're down there in the Pomarsh as an exilic government. All of those Pomarsh tribes have not been there long. You think about it in terms of real history. This is like, for them, the Pomarsh is like refugee camps compared to what they had in the Lortmill Mountains. And so their objective, and this is pretty much canon, their objective is to get back into the Lortmill Mountains, move back up out of the Pomarsh and retake their ancestral territory.
So is like Safeton sort of like Switzerland for the Nazis, you know what I mean? where they're able to do some form of trade to try to keep, you know, something of an economy going beyond the slavers.
Yeah, that'll work. I mean, sure.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Middle Eastern politics myself, but you know, that's also viable.
There's a lot of and Gary's brought up some good points. One thing he said back, and I just want to step back real quick. He said Ernst and the pale part of Nyrond, which I didn't know for a time being.
They started out, and then they.
I did not know that. And then another great point brought up was in the glossography, all the knighthoods are detailed, but there's no Knights Protectorate at all.
Yep.
Which is bizarre. So.
Well, they're kind of almost history when it's written, so to speak. It's.
True on that.
Almost history, yeah.
So,
well, the Knights Protector, their real function was to protect, you know, the nation state, you know, the Great Kingdom, and you know what, they did their best, also until Saint Karga showed, became, and then after that, it also it's like they could not control the Death Knights, and given enough time, and also it's like, well, the emperor turned against them because he and the Hextorians and also were in each other's back pocket.
What are you protecting at that point?
Yeah,
You know that, like,
kind
and
of
so
got
the
a bad
Heronians,
rep.
the Heronians had already left, really, as well, didn't they? Like, I mean, wasn't there like a lot of references where they headed west? They went to
Yeah,
Furiandi and the
that's
Shield.
my take on it. That they formed the Knight Knight of the Heart, and Knight of the Holy Shielding, and became, that's when they set up shop.
And then the only thing that's really left of them even now, as a functional group, but also after the Bone March, also was pretty much, decimated, destroyed, whatever you want to say, is they went erratic. And if anything, it's like they're almost like, the line of defense up in Radical, because they don't seem to really be, much further north. And also it's like, then, they must be in Marner, but there's no real mention of them that I can come across.
Yeah.
All right, I have to address this. I want to hear Tommy's response. So Gary put something in chat that I never thought about, and he said the Dwarves will never forgive the Elves for giving up the fight early in the Hateful Wars. Okay, I know that's jumping way ahead, so we'll get to that. As we go through. What?
Sounds like Gimli. Never trust him.
Yeah.
So that's a huge thing, because it actually makes a lot of sense as to what happens in my campaign when the Prince of Ulick doesn't like Celine at all, and that's why. Yeah. So.
Right. So yeah, that's definitely the situation that the elves lost their. I mean, this is canon. The elves seem to have lost the zeal for the war, and perhaps there's it doesn't tell us why, but we know that after the Hateful Wars, that's when Celine adopts that policy of neutrality and non-involvement, right?
Yeah.
And so
isn't it a matter of geography, Tommy?
What's that?
Isn't it a matter of geography? Once the humanoids were pushed out of range of the elves were done, but they were still on the Dwarves' border.
They're still on the Elves' border though. With
that's completely reasonable.
Yeah.
That's completely reasonable. Okay. But you think also like, well, Valuna was involved. Valuna's like that. That's barely a problem for Valuna, and so there's a lot of geography at work there that the Dwarves are still dealing with down in the Principality. But so this is where I've developed the narrative myself. I have an entire sort of subplot going on for what's going to sour the elves on the Hateful Wars, and some treasonous actions and that sort of thing. So, but that's my own novelization of the big event.
But that's perfectly fine.
This is Gary's comment here. And also, he's saying the early Hateful Wars are also driven by bloodlust and vengeance of the elves. I always got the impression that it was probably more of the dwarves. And also, it's like, but Celine, according to canon, has been, they've retreated, from society more or less. And also, it's like they don't want to have anything to do with anybody else. I don't see the same thing happening with the high folk. But I haven't even looked at the high folk yet, so I don't know anything.
Yeah, but high folks' geography doesn't allow that. Doesn't allow
it's really remote.
The privilege of retreating like Celine is able to retreat. Maybe Anna can speak to
that.
But
I hate that.
Well,
Celine retreating.
High folk
isn't
interesting because you have the Vesvi, that area of the High Vale in Vesvi. I saw it as a huge elven realm, and then the Airdians came in and they wanted to conquer, and they conquered the way up to Paraland, and then they made some sort of pact with the elves, so that High Folk became the area that was kind of inhabited mainly by elves, but was still under Airdian influence, and it was kind of a mishmash nation between the two. And then the rest, or the kind of what they call the heartland in the Marklands, that is the true elven realm, so to speak. And so that's why High Folk is this kind of hybrid realm between the perfect location for half elves to come from, so to speak, that you have with the Airdian that conquered through, without kind of destroying the elven culture, and that kind of make it sort of I see it natural as one of these kind of hybrid realms that way. The elves were trying to accommodate and made some sort of concession, say, okay, you can take this way and go up to Parent Land, but leave the rest of us to by ourselves. And that seems to, if I, that's how I read the Marklands, so to speak, when I see what happened there.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw this article that I posted from not too long ago. I posted this article on Igwilv's conquests of Paranland, and what was her objective? According to this article, which I pulled off Cannon Fire, her objective was high folk. She was not so much interested in holding Paranland just for itself, but she was trying to get to high folk and take that elven capital and obtain the magical power and whatever that represented. So I thought that was a really interesting take, rather than just she's just creating power for the sake of, like, well, I'm an evil sorceress, so I should conquer things. She had an objective, because what that tells me is that knowing Igwilv, she'll be back. And she'll come back for high folk at some point. So that's some direction that we could. She's not going to give up on it.
What I find it is like she began her conquest right about the same time that Ayush showed up on the scene, and also, so I think it also it's like that mother and son were being wonderfully supportive.
Yeah, oh, for sure. There's and Joseph Block has written about that too, about like what. There's some sort of strategic alliance here between the two. They're creating a pincher effect. He called it, like a pincher effect on the Marklands. So yeah, good stuff. Fun times.
Definitely.
Yep.
Because think of it, it's like if the two of them were together and they have the Vezra Forest and Paranland, it's like they've got an extraordinarily wonderfully defensive spot at all, like, and such. I don't know, like when you saw it, like I know Anna's got it's like this big black spot on the map, but also it's like where the Ayu's empire is, and also it's like, but it's like it can't really be that horrifically bad at all, or else nothing could survive there.
Well, it's like Mordor.
Well,
Where'd they get all the
you have
food
to
from?
kind of overdo things on a fantasy map.
Yeah.
That's
And
you also have to realize it's 20 years
to
old.
Canada, though? I mean,
And it's also 20 years old, so it needs a revision, that's for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, but I still think that parts of it around Doraka and stuff, they probably survive not on normal agriculture or anything like that. They can probably just survive on things taken from whatever, and meaning clerics.
I've always had this idea of like the human population as being like slave serfs onto the land and such.
Yeah. And also meaning the clerics can create food and water, so they can, and so they will. That's what the ruling class will do. Yeah,
true, but they'd be doing it forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember an article showing, and also I don't know who wrote it also, but it was having to do with during the plague years, when the Red Death was sweeping across the across Greyhawk, and the thought was, well, how come the clerics couldn't just stop it? And there was math being brought in about how many clerics there could possibly be, and how many could be casting the spell, and how fast the disease would really be multiplying. And they said there's no way that they could keep up. They would probably be keeping
right.
the aristocrats alive.
And it's well known that the create food and water spell is terribly constipating.
Okay.
Like a Merlin spoon.
Only,
yeah.
Yep.
If only there was an artifact that could affect a population across a global area.
Because Stafford Brown.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, yeah. Do we have evil versions?
I'm telling you guys, that's the thing we have to do. We have to like collaborate, get the whole community pulled together, and collaborate on the quest for the Crook of Ra. It's like that's the most epic thing. That to me is the Greyhawk equivalent of the One Ring.
Ooh. Interesting. Yeah.
Well, when it comes on the good side, so to speak.
Yeah, on the good side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an accomplished thing already in the canonical history, but I've got my players, here, there, everywhere, all over the time and in the chronology.
Yeah.
See, in a fantasy setting, the gray areas tend to become more and more blurred and gray. Like Asher just has a book plumbs the issues. Only why do all these dead rulers not get resurrected? Well, that's a good point. I mean, you would think that they'd all have these high-level clerics and all, but
not that many that want them back.
But
Once they're gone,
there's
they
also
definitely don't want them back.
That's also
again.
solved in the Great Kingdom because no one's dying now.
Not even their servants and henchmen wants them back. Once they're dead, that everybody's happy and gone with them. So
would Ivid the Sixth want Ivid the Fifth back?
No.
Oh, that might be. Yeah, that might be. Yeah. But no one wants.
That's why we have
the
the
sixth
first,
back.
the second, the third.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. True, Gary.
Yeah.
All right, so moving forward, 437, Turmoil Between Crowns. Someone go for it.
Alex wins.
Neelix kills off the last Rax. Is that what happens? Is that basically it?
I think that's basically it.
That's basically it, and then
that's summarizing a lot of really good.
Yeah,
that kicks it off, and it takes years before the rest of the celestial houses recognize Evid, and then by that time, well, how many of them? I think only 3 of them have had any real substantial periods of ruling. The 2 in between, and also only had a couple of years. So and I think it's not just the Ivids; it's all of the houses, because the north and the south, and also we're somewhat autonomous during this whole period, and they were just giving lip service to the core.
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, here's another thought. Now I'm looking at this again closely. Is it? And you can stop me whenever you want. Is it the turmoil between crowns mentioned anywhere else but the timeline? Originally,
it's mentioned in Even the Undying, I think.
No. Just within this book.
Oh, okay, within that book.
Because
I think that's it. It's in the timeline, and that's
what I mean.
As it reads, as it reads, literally, Kingdom of Nyron established, Kingdom of Kulan at peak, turmoil between crowns. Could they have been inferring Kulan versus
Nyron?
Nyron versus
and it's been developed into a whole different narrative.
Yeah.
Someone took that and ran with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In another direction.
Good point, Mike.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I like to
in the 56 and 57 dragons, and also which are the ones that really did advance the timeline a lot, and also before the adventure begins and such. It sounds like that's where Gary and Rob Kuntz and those were going anyways. And also it's like maybe they left it really wide open at the beginning.
Gary assures me that there are other sources for the turmoil. Okay.
There is? Okay. Great.
It just seems like it's a little misleading. You talk about Keelan, you talk about Nyron, but the turmoil, between crowns is about the Great Kingdom. It just seems a little misleading.
Well, there was almost like a phony war, between the 2 kingdoms briefly, right? It's right around where Greyhawk is. They almost went to war. And it just didn't happen.
Yeah, okay. Iron League comes shortly after, right?
Yeah.
But I remember that specifically. And also, I was looking at it. When I'm flipping through all the histories, was they mustered their armies and then they just stopped, which just doesn't seem plausible.
Well, they measured their strength and realized it would be too costly to fight a war, so they agreed on something. Yeah.
All right. Another question, because even though I've been playing for 42 years, I don't know a lot, right? Where is Trigol? Bandit King's sack Trigol. Where the hell's that?
Trigol is in. Hang on a second. I have my maps up.
It was sacked.
I know, but what's in here on the timeline? What is it?
Yeah. Trigol is in.
And why is that so important? What's that?
Oh, it's okay. Please continue.
I don't know where it is. I never knew where it was. I'm assuming it's somewhere near the Bandit Kingdoms. Is it in 10? Is it in? Does anyone know?
I know where it is. I'm just saving it
And
at
is
the
on
moment.
it.
So I'm on it. Just wait a second. I have an old crappy computer. I need to yeah. So now I can start looking.
Where's the
Actually, I saw a
CVR?
blog post that was quite interesting recently. It
Yeah.
also, because that's what I've been doing on the Greyhawk Musings Facebook page. It also was I've been trying to dive into a lot of the blogs. It also, it's like, can draw some attention
Yeah.
to some of the
Yeah.
stuff that was out there. And one of them, and also was quite neat, is like they said that because the campaign began around Greyhawk, and they expanded it also to every sort of terrain and whatever sort of adventures that you could have. So there's your microcosm, and then the rest of the world came out, and so now you have the exact same thing duplicated on a continental
Yeah.
scale that was
Yeah.
in the center.
I saw that. I thought that was, I
Yeah.
thought that was very insightful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Trigal is in on the France River between. It's in County of Ernst on the border towards Nairon.
What importance does that have in anything on this timeline? Does anyone
It
know?
might have been
What's
Gary's
significant?
campaign.
Okay.
might-
Maybe it just okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm just
Printing costs were pretty tight at all back in those days, and also because
Yeah.
when you just consider that the original modules were only 4 pages long.
yeah.
And the folio, how many pages? 20 pages or so,
Yeah,
versus
like-
the gold box.
Yeah.
Okay,
It kind
so
of grew from
that entire entry right here, founding of the Iron League, Band of Kingdom Sack Trigal, Rise of the Sea Princes. Those are
Mhm.
3 rebellions, essentially, 3 uprisings of significant groups, I guess,
Now
I-
tied together.
Gary on his Imperial Keelland timeline has 434 to 453 Rise of the Sea Princes. It's different, or it's expanded, and I was just so.
I think the importance of. Oh, sorry. Go on.
No, I'm just going to say, I'm sure the Sea Princes began, but I guess that's when they hit their height. I don't know.
I think the importance of Trigal in that way is probably that's as far south as the Bandit Kingdoms raided, so to speak. I think the significance is that they raid far into what was then the heartland of the Great Kingdom, so to speak. I think that was it was one of it's a city inland, meaning it's 200 miles from any border, or 200 miles or more towards any border of the Great Kingdom, so to speak. So it was the heartland.
So that just wanted to know, because I've always wondered what that meant, in there, because
It meant that was probably one of the peak power of the Bandit Kingdoms when they were really raiding far into the Great Kingdom, hundreds of miles in.
All right. So after that, you get to the 450 era that Tommy, you said was so important. Now you're saying that Yolande takes control in 450. Is that what happens? And
I don't have the timeline in front of me right now.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's around then. Yolande she comes to power.
From whom?
Through that. Pardon me.
From whom? Who's in power before
like
her?
a previous queen or
We
something?
don't know.
Yeah. That's not detailed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not detailed out who was in power before her.
Okay.
But she receives her throne. I followed Melkot, I believe it was.
Some Malden. Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's where I got this. Was saying that she received it from her mother, who abdicated. Her mother abdicated with the instructions to her to break from Keeland, and so then she comes to power with this war against Keeland. And so she hasn't been like, there for hundreds and hundreds of years, sitting on that blossoming throne, like you would think of an elven queen, but rather she's only been there a short time. By elven years, she's brand new.
And is she, as Gary has pointed out, is she married to Prince Tersarian at this point, or is he a consort?
He's a consort. She doesn't have issues.
Consort. Yeah. Got it.
No kings.
I'm just want to get the. Okay.
That's her consort, and that is her entrance into the hateful wars. She is not willing to ally with the dwarves to deal with their goblin problem until that incident takes place, and then as an act of vengeance, she brings Celine into the hateful wars. And so that's why maybe that's why the elves cool off so quickly as well, because they didn't necessarily have a strategic interest. It was more of a personal vendetta.
Once again, another question coming up here: is that both Elven realms, or just Selene and not the Duchy? Does the Duchy continue onward with the Principality in the county?
The understanding that we have of the situation with the Duchy of Ulick is that they are somewhat under the sway and control of the Principality. So in fact, all of the Ulick states kind of march along with the Principality being the powerhouse. That's my understanding of the situation.
Yeah, but they also have a treaty with Keoland. That's how they got their so-called independence. They still have
all of them have a treaty with Keoland.
Now, I was just
all of them after that revolution. All of them have normalized relationships with Keoland, but it's a chilly relationship.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and that's this is my wheelhouse area where I venture. So I'd love to get I love the background history on it and all the detail you've all the work you've done and the detail you've written up on it. So we get to a point where they get this treaty, which is a few years before we have the Hateful Wars itself. The dwarves, which are obviously, all right, here's another question for everyone up here. Do you see an indigenous difference between mountain dwarves and hill dwarves?
I do.
Okay. Okay. I have mountain dwarves, Lord Mills, hill dwarves, Principality. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we have that. Yes. So the Prince of Ulick is a hill dwarf.
Yeah.
And the Lord Mill mountain dwarves are all mountain dwarves. And okay. All right. Good. I got that. And there is a little bit. I have it that. Here's our question: the Lord Mill dwarves are the richer of because the mining is much more lucrative in the Lord Mills, correct?
Right.
Okay, good. I got that background when I was 12 years old. Correct. That's good to hear.
Yeah. That's all correct.
All right, cool. Very cool. And the Lord Mill dwarves do not pay fealty to the Principality of Ulick.
No, they're completely independent, and because they're so isolated in their kingdoms, in the mountains, they're really doing their own thing, and have never really been. They've never considered themselves under. They never considered themselves under Keel, and they've never considered themselves under anyone. They've been more remote. So, yeah, that's the mountain dwarves. They're isolationists themselves.
Gary says that it's played out, the mining, and I say it's been revitalized in the last 20, 30 years in game time. That's just the way I've hey, Tim, what's going on?
Yeah.
But I guess
it's my business. I do it for a living, and else they could have found new veins.
David, you're always finding new technology, new ways of getting stuff out of the ground.
You can just go deeper, and also until you find the Balrog. So here's a question. Where is the ancestral home of the dwarves? And also, I always thought that it was the Cairn Hills because of the amount of the fact that it's completely hollowed out, and then they've spread out from there.
No, I would say Crystal Mist or Yahtils.
Yeah, I would say from
or somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say the Crystal Mist or the other side of the Crystal Mists. Even there's some fanon, not canon, but fanon that puts them down in the area of the Hell Furnaces.
Gary says Soulhalt Mountains.
Yeah, that might be too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have, but because the biggest clans that seems to be impressive when you read the stuff, it's in the Blackhammers and others up in the Yahtils and up in the Crystal Mist. That seems to be the real big powerhouses, so to speak. And then Iron Gate and others are kind of a more modern thing, but it's
colonies. Yeah.
I've never really given Dwarven history much of a thought, but
no, me neither.
Did they have a similar? Did they have a migration similar to the humans then?
Well, yeah, and now I can't. I don't even know where I got this. I mean, because I did want to put all that together, and I have it in footnotes. I don't remember though. I mean, I did a lot of like Googling. You just like Google becomes your friend.
Well,
It's
think of
like,
it. They
okay,
had to have
somebody,
had their migrations, you know, because
Yes.
they're way over it. Also, it's like in the Backlunish lands, way off on the Dromage Sea, and they're also found up in the in the Rakers. And also, you know, I'm like, that's why I kind of thought, you know, with that microcosm in the center, you know, it's like that we had the Cairn Hills, and I thought I had referenced it. Also, like, you know, I'm just, you know, making up a memory now. Maybe it also, it's like, but it seemed like, you know, that those they made it sound like it was mines and it was completely played out, and human populations didn't show up until fairly recently. And so how did it all get played out? Well, what if the dwarves were there? And also it's like, and then they spread out from there. And also it's like to all portions of the land.
Yeah, I take it that dwarfs, what they do is that they have a stronghold somewhere where they have mineral wealth and they live and a good bastion, and then they send out dwarfs to go and check in other hills and mountains
Yeah.
for other interesting areas where they can find resources and stuff, and then they establish a colony there, and then that colony grows big enough, and that way that becomes a new clan eventually, and after some hundreds of years and several generations, and they enough dwarfs, and they build a new place, so to speak, and that becomes a new clan, or over time they kind of diversify. And I also have them that one of their secret is that they have actually portals between the friendly ones, so to speak. They have portals between, so that's why you don't have to walk all the way between the different, so they can trade with each other directly, and that's what the
Is that
dwarven
what's going
clerics
on in
do.
Iron Gate?
Yes, yeah. So Iron Gate is one of these kind of hubs, so to speak, with various different dwarven kingdoms and clans, so that way they can stay in touch, and it's also a defense mechanism. So if you attack one of them, they can very quickly get reinforcement from others, and that means that they are almost impenetrable, meaning they can have enormous amount of dwarfs coming very quickly to defend themselves. That's why they're really good at building defensive fortresses up there in the hills or in the mountains.
Where is their highest concentration of population? And also, I thought it also was around divers and also
I
what
would
was the other one that was really high?
I would have one
Iron
is
Gate.
that
Iron
Iron
Hills
yeah.
is where at.
Yeah, there's one up to, it's the Kund and the Black Hammers near Exag and up in the Yacht Hills. They seem to have some of the mentioned be really big establishment.
But
You'd
I've
think it
never
also the
heard,
highest
but I don't know
population is
anything
where they
about,
would begin.
like, if they must really be, they don't seem to have any action. I mean, who ever heard of them other than like,
No, but they're big because that's where you get a lot of resources, and then
yeah,
they're
but
away from
what have they done for us lately? You know, I mean, where do we see them interacting with
they
the
don't care
history?
to. They collect their riches and brew their beer. But one thing when it comes to dwarves,
Oh, you're
where
okay,
do
David.
they grow
Bark.
their food and stuff? Meaning they're big into
Mushrooms.
ales and whatnot. Mushroom ale? Yeah, I was thinking, what do they, meaning, do they do agriculture? Do they import all that stuff, or do they grow it in
I always
mushrooms?
imagine that they have agriculture, that they
Yeah,
also have surface agriculture.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah.
So
That's why I think that some areas like Iron Gate and others are big because they actually and the Iron Kingdom, the Iron Hills, they are big because they
But they have all that mineral wealth. They can buy.
exactly, but they need to import it from somewhere. So yeah.
Yeah. So
There's also a lot of, there's the clans of the Crystal Mists, of course, and that seems to me to be like a significant dwarven population.
Yeah.
a couple things there. Big Mac asked, Living City had a netbook called Dwarven Nations of the Vast. Was anything ever done for Greyhawk Dwarves? You have to remember those 2E books, those brown covered books, are mostly Forgotten Realms books. And you can use stuff in Greyhawk, but there's really no Greyhawk compilations of dwarves that I know of.
No.
Not
Particularly.
not even of elves, really. You know, and
but a little bit
halflings.
more of elves than
dwarves,
but not much.
Yeah.
Remember, it was humanocentric.
Yeah, it was very humanocentric. Yeah. Yeah, as Gary says, Greyhawk never got nothing. So there you go.
Yes. Nothing. Yeah.
What's up, Troy? Having a good one, Troy. We're giving away 3 of your gift certificates tonight, so thank you for your generosity, Cannibal. And 2 Troller games and 1 Reaper.
If you heard barking, There's the culprit.
Well,
Oh,
he
yes.
looks like he's a violent animal there, man.
Yeah, you have such a guard dog. Yeah.
The other one is quiet. This one is.
All right, I got one or two more Hateful Wars questions I want to ask here. How long did the cleansing of the Lord Mills take?
12 years.
12.
They're not done yet. Or is
Well, it just
Well, from the time when they say the wars are over, so when the
Okay.
Great Purge, what's considered to be the Great Purge, and the Purge itself didn't happen all at once. The Purge itself was spread over the last several years of the war, where these populations are fleeing. So it's in around 5-10 when it's wrapped up, and they consider, okay, we've purged, we've done our duty here and purged the mountains. Now, of course, there's always stragglers, and this clan and that pocket.
in remote areas of hit mountains and stuff, and
Right.
you can always
And
the DM. You never run out of ideas.
Right.
Right,
to
but
get
the
some
big
back in there.
the big migration where most of
That's what I wanted to
the
ask.
orcs, goblins,
To the soul,
and
sus.
hobgoblins and tribes of the Lorkmill Mountains said, okay, we're out of here now. We're leaving. They relocated to the Pomage, and they first came down into the Sus,
Yeah, through the sus. Yeah.
and then overran the Pomage, and that was around.
Which actually,
12.
this is pre its existence, but they went right through where Altamira is today. When you think about it,
Yep.
it's right there.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Altamira ends up being like right in the line of. Right in the
So
line
you have
of
to write the
combat.
history.
That's all the
Well,
reason
Right,
I'm
the
asking.
history of
I was asking
Altamira
you
and-
about it. I was asking about when was this established? When was what was there? What in the Hateful Wars era? What was at Altamira? Because
Yeah.
Nothing
it's
for
relevant
my-
because that's right in a strategic
Yeah.
location.
There was nothing there as far as in my campaign. That was well before.
Okay, so
but
you have to write the history of
yeah.
Altamira.
You know
What
what?
happened
Around where
from
Altamira is where Harada would have been.
where what would have been what?
I thought it was way north.
Haradara? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's just because she put it on the map. But also, we don't really know where it is. And also, it's like we just know that it was in the Lortmirs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put it on the
I-
map, but I'm not 100% sure that is actually a good location because they always
I
talk
need it
about
to be where you put it, Anna.
Sorry?
I need it to be exactly where you put it.
There you go. It ain't moving now. It ain't moving where my
No,
city
exactly.
is.
Now it's moving. Okay, there it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
but one of the problems I have with these really ancient places is that almost all of them were mountain peaks. And
Yeah.
that seems
Yeah,
to
it's
be
just
kind of
ludicrous, isn't it?
exactly. That seems to be the worst places to have ancient
You're
cities.
standing on top of
that they're not up in mountain peaks, but both
But
the
it's a
elves
really
and the
great place to
Flares
put an
and-
adventure.
exactly, and all the ancient ones have their cities up in the mountaintops. And,
Well,
and to
from the
me,
Flan perspective, it also there was Fleet, which was
yeah,
down
that,
the
but Fleet is the exception. It's not
Yes.
in the mountaintops.
Like,
so,
So
yeah.
like you have like minus 2150-ish or something like that is when Harada is created. And about 150 years later, they got Tostenka,
Yeah.
Skrelling on it. Also, it's like across the continent once again, way up at the top of the griffs. So
Yep.
What is it with building on top of mountains? Who builds on top of a mountain?
Machu Picchu.
Yeah, exactly. But the elves did too, according to ancient history and the
yeah,
articles
that just doesn't make
people
any
wrote.
sense. It's like the Incas
Yeah.
went up in the
Palestine.
mountains because they were running away
Look
from
Yeah.
either that or else you're trying to get away from malaria.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I actually took it to heart a little bit because I kept Kershani, the elven city up in the Klatsbru. I take that as that in my campaign. That's the surviving elven city from old, so to speak. So it's still there. So it's kind of that and Instad are the two kind of capital of elven.
I think for the Elven kingdoms, they only put two of them in half decent, well, three of them in half decent spots, and the other ones were all up in the mountains. And also, you only had Selene, Lisa, and Van Lendor Isles. And also, it's like those were the only habitable spots.
Yeah, but I put it in the valley. I put it in a valley, so it's a bit like Rivendell in Tolkien. So it's a bit like you can have and with some magic and stuff, you can be a nice place to live. So yeah.
And we all know how nice Altamira really is as a place to live because there's a grove
Yeah.
of what
Mhm.
that's still there to this day, a grove of kumquat trees.
Awesome. But you need to write
I
the
had-
history
I-
of
Okay.
I live in
19
Canada. I have no idea what a kumquat is.
It's right on the it's right on the
You're
it's right
too
on the
far
herald.
north.
It's right
I
on the
need to know what-
heraldry. Here we go.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
there.
It's
Oh,
it's a
look,
weird fruit.
Right now,
There it
I've
is,
got-
on the heraldry in the upper
Altamira,
left-hand
I
corner.
have a mill. I at the I put what I did was I said that along the Handmaiden River there's the mill at Altamira.
There we
So
go.
It's
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
the
It's actually-
location of a lot of times you have like you'll have like a threshing floor or a mill or something like that, and a population will slowly begin to grow up
Yeah.
around
Yep.
an agricultural installment.
Hate to diverge off, but 30 seconds. Three Cavaliers or Paladin Cavaliers formed, said that we need a defensive position here. This is a perfect place to do 3 fortresses. There was a grove of kumquat trees when they got there, and there's a guy named Hoops selling kumquats on a roadside stand. And that's all that was there when they got there. And he's
Okay,
still
so
selling
what I-
them to this day. The mill thing's fine. It's great. It's
No,
great.
we'll just change it. We'll just change it to
He's
the
gonna
grove at
actually put that in there. I
Altamira.
can't
We
believe.
change it to the grove.
Yeah.
It's the grove of kumquat trees at Altamira.
There you go. Exactly. So, well after the Hateful Wars.
sounds better than the kumquat wars.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
But well after the Hateful Wars. But that's the reason I asked on the where they fled, because it technically, depending on where they crossed the Jewel, they have to cross the Jewel somewhere. Where did they cross the Jewel River? It's really not stated to get into the Sus. There is Sus on the west, but they have to get across the Jewel River.
No,
The
I
humanoids.
think it's all along there. I think,
Okay.
the Jewel is not, from my understanding, is not a real deep river.
I
so
thought it was navigable.
But it's not one of the biggest rivers in the Flan East by far. It's a kind of a mid-sized river. So,
So there
yeah.
may be fords here and there.
Okay.
Yeah. You
Okay.
can probably
And no,
build-
Hoops is not the mayor of Altamira, Tim. You know that.
Oops.
So, yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
they forded across somewhere, and then all. So
What is it?
the last thing, Tommy, I want to ask about that is, and you have your theory, and I really hate, this is the one thing I hate about From the Ashes, is this super isolationism of Selene. I hate it. I just don't. But if you think it makes sense, tell me. If you haven't gotten there yet in your stories, I don't want to ruin anything, but tell me what is one or two of those triggers for Selene going, we're just not even participating anymore. Besides,
I mean, it's there's a little bit of spoilers there, I guess. For,
Okay.
There is a trigger. There is a trigger coming up there, but
we can wait.
it comes down to this: that they got into a war that they shouldn't have gotten into because Yolande acted impetuously by pursuing a vendetta because of the death of her consort, right?
Right.
And so then they got into this war, and it was they got in over their heads. And then she had a reactionary, sort of a reaction to pull back and go the other direction, say, no, we're not going to get involved with the other races again, because look at how we were ill abused and used in the Hateful Wars.
Got it.
Here's a thought. Elves are very long lived, and so therefore they would have seen, in very recent memory, they would have seen Vecna, the Earthland, it's like the conquest, like the human wars, and also it's like the orcs, and also it's like it would have been potentially just a non-stop barrage, and maybe they just decided to pull back, and also it's like and say, I'm done with you.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I also
I know you don't. I know it doesn't sound very, high fantasy and such. And
No,
also,
but- yeah, I agree with both of you, but I also want to add another dimension to it that I kind of emphasized in my campaign. Isolationism is the official policy. That means that's what you use to fool everybody. What to kind of hide your real intent, so to speak. So you have an official policy of isolationism, and then you work under the table, and to be kind of the beacon of good.
So she's actually supporting Melf and his Knights of the...
I have that too. Yeah,
Cool.
that's what I have it. That
They don't exist. Sorry, I'm kidding.
No, but yeah, I have it that
I don't like that.
they support all that, and they support, but they want to do it in secret, so to speak. So the official policy is neutrality and isolationism and all that, but secretly they are the ones that fund a lot of good stuff going around, so to speak. And then so when they break out, they can do a quick change, so to speak, not a slow and gradual one. So once they know that for sure they're strong enough, they kind of turn the tables on a lot of things. And they also chaotic, so they don't believe in institutions and stuff that much.
There's a great episode in Gygax's book, Artifact of Evil, where Gord ends up in the Elven realm of Selene for a very short visit. But we do get to see a little bit about the personality of the leadership there and how they support him without getting too involved. And I like the way that whole episode plays out. It's one of my favorite parts of the book.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we're getting off topic here, but
No.
during the last with the Knights of Luna, and if you remember, no, if you remember when Luke was on right before all the cons, I asked him. I said, "What do you think about Melf and the Knights of Luna?" He said he had nothing to do with it because at all, and he didn't even know that Melf was the head of the Knights of Luna. Really, he didn't know about it because he had, it was his character. It's like, so
they invented it.
Yeah, they invented it. So,
but
I kid. And you did too. You did too, Carlos. Yeah, absolutely. And it just goes to show you that once you get your this drove Leonard crazy too. God rest his soul. What they did to Liam is I had it, and that's why he had to write his own timeline of what happened to him in Earth Journal 10 or whatever, because he's like, I gotta set the record here. Once and that's the problem with once another company takes over your characters, you lose control of them. You lose, and
but that's when it's like when you write a blog post about something you do in your campaign, and then someone else takes it and runs with it. But I think that's good. Meaning, I just put a blog post about my campaign and what I did, and what I hope is that someone else will take it and drive it in whatever direction they want to.
And and that's a great thing about all the other three gentlemen on here too. They all have blogs which you can take their information with and do it with what you wish. And that's why I'm picking Tommy's brain on all this prehistory stuff to make sure I'm kind of in line of what's going on. So all right, so we haven't even gotten to the 500s yet. Which is good. I mean, this is a great discussion. So let's David, what do you want to bring up during this era pre-576 that you really think we should hit? And we'll see what everyone...
Well, the influence also of the Earthland mainly, and also because when you consider, I've been looking on online, and also it's like for the names anyways. So you've got Gallup Dreidel, you've got Caraptus, you've got Vecna. I'm going to put a Sarac in there. And also it's like before all of a sudden he became a Cambion, and also it's like and all these other things because of Forgotten Realms. And also it's like I don't think he was ever a Cambion prior. And then Zunk, is he Viridian or was he Earthland? Was he a Flan? But either way, when you consider what because he went over to conquer the the city of Brass. That's how huge the power he was. So how much of how much influence it also it's like do people put it also it's like to the Flan in the the original history. I know it's always the Sul and it's always the Iridians, and also because those are the primaries. But they conquered the entire continent prior. They're the ones who pushed the elves out of the way.
Yeah.
They destroyed the elven civilizations. And when you consider what they created, like I said, White Plume Mountain, and also it's like in the Ghost Tower of Inverness, and also it's like and the Isle of Woe and so on. No one has created anything like them since. So, I think that there should be a whole lot more Flan in the history than there actually is. It also as opposed to these hippies, it also that gardened around the Flanesque before the Iridians arrived.
It's a veritable Forgotten Realms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the Forgotten Realms. Ooh, awesome.
If you said that, David, and and Rich Longitalis was on, he'd have a coronary or a stroke or something. They'd be like, "Ah!"
Oh, you know, they're wonderful. You know, it's like
I'm sorry,
the Soul
I
are
didn't mean it that way.
fantastic. But you know, this like God bless John Reynolds. It also, it's like for his book. It also, it's a great propaganda tool. You know, like, but the thing is, it's like it pushed the, like, between the Imperium and the and the Scotic Brotherhood. It also, it's like they've destroyed the Soul's reputation. Let's remember, it also, it's like that Leomund is a Soul. You know, he's a quarter elf. But also, it's like, but he's he's Soul, and they're just not all bad, right?
Okay.
But that was the whole point. It also, when you look at the history, it also was, there was a prehistory of which the Flan were there, and then the important races arrived.
Oh boy.
But it's like the Soul, other than the twin cataclysms between them and the Backloonish, it's like, really, what did they do? It's like, other than have their empire destroyed. It also, it's like, and their magic, like, it's almost like, honestly, it's almost like they helped to crack magic. As soon as that happened, it also, it's like, like whatever the Flan did before, it also with Vecna, it's like when he destroyed the Elven kingdoms, maybe that cracked magic, and on the twin cataclysms cracked it further. And then when Vecna and Ayus had their titanic battle, it also, it's like out on the on the steppes, and they destroyed that circle. And now it's all of a sudden, it's like a flickering TV screen, like that. And then we hear, it's like by the time that Puppet Smedger's writing, and also that the only thing that anybody can write is just, use is just cantrips now. So magic got broken somewhere. Where does anybody else place it?
I haven't breaking down. The magic is still there, so to speak. It's part of the so I don't have it declining, so to speak. It's still there. So
it's very interesting.
No one has created White Plume Mountain, or it's like the Tomb of Horrors. Like, well, I guess you can create, like, I guess Zagged created something similar to Tomb of Horrors. It also,
but I haven't, because the competition is different now. Meaning there's someone there to tear it down before it's been built, so to speak. So it's kind of, the competition is tougher. Back then there was like less population, less civilization, so you can go somewhere and then build for 200 years. No one figured it out or saw it, so to speak. Now it's a little bit more tougher competition, but there's still things being built in my campaign that is going to rival, maybe we'll see, going to rival the wonders of old too. So yeah,
it's a great point. I never thought of it that way.
In my perspective, I look at it like what happened with the cataclysms as a nuclear exchange. I think that was sort of a Cold War reference in the first place. But in that case, the world of Greyhawk and the Flaness is a post-apocalyptic world where we are. You occasionally might have these sorcerers like a Sararak who are grabbing on to the old power, and they have access to the old power. They have a few nuclear devices that they can still set off, but most of the world is not. Most of the world is working with the post-apocalyptic remnants of magic from on a much smaller scale. That's the way I look at it.
Like the great magical implements, it also are the relics, and they were all created. It also, it's like back either during the Imperium and or the Flan eras. And also, it's like maybe there's a few things being created now. And also, it's like, but nothing anywhere near what those things were.
Yeah, and I also have it that back in the day it was demi-humans, like primarily elves, that created a lot of and had a lot of the magic knowledge which they had acquired for over eons of time. And now comes the hasty humans and basically put it on steroids and start obliterating each other left and right. And now we live in like a post-apocalyptic kind of the aftermath of that. But now it's starting to build again. But one of the other reasons is also that first someone develops offensive magic, meaning someone to crush and burn and whatever. But then when you do that, then people start developing defensive magic. And that's what happened too, is that when you come up with some really fancy, cool spell to begin with, once you start using it left and right, others will come up with way to thwart it and counter it. and that means that magic doesn't become less powerful, but it becomes less useful in a way, because the magic also is part of the defense. So that's one of the other things, meaning to use high level magic in my campaign is risky, because you kind of, that's like lighting a beacon in the dark saying, I'm here, I'm doing fancy stuff. And someone might, you get the attention of the high and mighty. So yeah.
So where do we place Blackmore? You know,
Oh.
is it ancient? Is it Flan? Is it even pre-Flan? You know, or would you put it as a
anyone ever
ready?
campaigned in Blackmore? First question. Have you ever gone there?
No, I've never gone that far
I've never
in
been
my
there.
campaign,
Never.
Me
but
either.
yeah. But see it
like-
as an homage to Dave Arneson's campaign, not something that has any particular special connotation. It's one of the end of the road kind of places in the Flannies.
So
Some ports
yeah,
ought to
you
live
have
there.
Blackmore and Lendor, which are other campaigns that got merged into Greyhawk, right?
Yeah.
But hey, it's a good question
Yeah.
in the greater
Mhm.
picture things. I sure brought up, and if anyone wants to talk about this, 563 Bow March falling to the humanoids as key pre 576. Anyone
Yeah.
want to discuss that? Or
David, you had some interesting theories on that, and you knew.
Well, it wasn't
stuff about
exactly theories. I was dragging from canon. It was Sean Reynolds who
better.
had the idea that the Scarlet Brotherhood was up there whispering, and also because they didn't like what was happening in the Great Kingdom, so they spurred the orcs on, and the orcs had also began to, you know, do some tentative little strikes and also then raids until finally they decided it also that the pickings were good and they came sweeping down. They destroyed the Bone March and took Spine Castle by surprise. And they tried to do the exact same thing and also with Braddock and Theocracy of the Pale, but those two were military enough, and also it's like that they were able to fight them off. So whether or not they were prepared or not, or whether or not they just had, there was, I don't know, maybe the Bone March was always their the gem that they truly wanted.
okay.
But Gary's there. And also, it's like you should come on.
Yeah.
So
He
we've been
knows
saying all
this.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tonight, I want everyone to bear with me tonight. This may be the largest amount of shout outs I got to do tonight, but it's right before Christmas. I'm just putting it out there. Please hang in there for the whole show tonight, as we got a lot of great stuff going on. I just lost my train of thought here. We've covered it before, but you got the Temple of Elemental Evil, which is like the focal point of the campaign before 576, right? It's the last major thing that gets announced, and then it talks about the Battle of Emerald Meadows, and is that like for everyone here the point of, okay, this is where you start your campaign for the most part. If you're old school or whatever, this is where you want to start now. Is that what all you see, or is there something else? I mean, and you may start in the Great Kingdom, or you may start, in Ratic, or you may start somewhere else on the map. But I'm just saying, is that the focal point that you think is the best timeline to start in a campaign, or is there some other point you'd start from this discussion of history? Tommy, what do you think on that?
I know that's like sort of the dogma, that's when you have to start. I don't feel that way. I think
okay.
Any place that the dungeon master finds inspiring and is excited about, that's the place to start, because where you have the place where you're excited about bringing your players in, your players are going to appreciate it if you appreciate it. What you're excited about, that's what your players are going to be excited about. And so, look, I love to work in the Carl Sargent stuff. I think I really love that from the Ashes era. I really enjoy that, and the purging of the Giants of Jeff. That's great stuff. That's a great place to throw your characters in. But at the same time, I've got campaigns going in 576, and those are a lot of fun too.
Okay.
It's like with the old classics. Sometimes I think the addiction or the dogma of 576 is more of a nostalgia trip and not.
True.
Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on it.
David, what do you think?
500 to 520.
Okay.
that's where I was playing me before. It also it's like because when
Wow.
I was flipping through those books, it also it's like I was so overwhelmed. And also when I was, transforming, the old campaign, and also which was, like in homebrew land. It also it's like into Greyhawk. I wanted to sweep aside all that canon and do my own shit. And so I was way off on the corner of the map, but also it's like where it was all frontier, and as opposed to having to deal with metropolises and so on. And also it's like, and when I went back there, it's like I'm even like pre Circle of Eight, so it's like they're nothing.
Right,
It's like they're children. Like I don't care. They're children, and also it's like, and they're way over there. And also it's like, and so I have, the Klondike Gold Rush. It also it's like, and the fist sweeping down from the north. It also it's like, and
Cool.
I've got the like there's still the headbutting between the the barbarians and the and essentially it also it's like the Great Kingdom, which is just sweeping into there. And you have to think, why are they there? They like the books say they got in there to consolidate their northern border. Well, that's just wonderful. Also, but the only thing that's there is trees and a whole pile of violence. And also, it's like they could have just stopped before, where Radicule is. It also, it's like in fortified there. That would have made a whole lot more sense. So I have them pushing much further up, but also it's like to where the pass is. And why would you get all the way up there? Well, because you can sail up the rivers. And also, it's like and mountains are that are usually filled with mineable resources, and so you have like trade and so on. And also it's like, and then you have all the like the the difficulties that you have, and also with pushing into somebody else's territory. I think that's a whole lot more interesting, and also it's like personally, and also than trying to figure out something as old as the Sheldamar Valley, which, at my age now, it all sounds extraordinary. Like, I mean, that layers of history, but you can do the exact same thing in 520. My whole thought is I was astonished when I realized that Caraptus had his empire as far as he could survey from the from the Rakers in the Griff Mountains. Well, that's part Radic too. So now you start placing all this history throughout, and so there's a layer there. And also it's like, and there's a danger to scratching too far below the surface. So long-winded answer. It also
no, it's a great answer. I like this, that the free city of Greyhawk has only been a free city for 2 years for you.
Yeah, but it's so far away. No one,
Yeah.
It's like it might as well be a myth. And also, it's like where people are talking about Babylon, and also it's like when they're in Ireland.
So you, here I go with Lord of the Rings references again. You almost have a second age like campaign where it's whatever happens there. It does, it's not going to affect what the real timeline is because you have something in that area, and it's
a very localized thing. And also it's like where the great empires are happening way the hell over there. And meanwhile, it also it's like you've got the people in the north who are looking down, and also it's like and kind of going, and you want us to pay what? Taxes? Are you kidding? What the hell have you done for us?
Right.
So it's like they're their own little insular world, and it's like the fists are coming down, and the great empire, which is supposed to be controlling the entire world, it also it's like has a garrison of 3 guys. Which is what the frontier is.
Yeah.
That's taken from the Canadian Rockies and the mounted police. It also it's like up in the Klondike. It also it's like there's like 2 guys up there. It also it's like taking care of thousands of miles. So so the Mounties always get their guide note.
Very cool. Gary brings up a lot of points and a couple things. He said in 500, Castle Greyhawk's opened, and that really gives Greyhawk City its big boost, right? When I guess Inzaghi does that. Also, that the Scarlet Brotherhood, if you go to 576, has only been reported 3 years earlier. In 573, that's the first. So so no one even knows about Scarlet Brotherhood before that.
Well, another thing about them, and also it's like is somewhere around the 500s is when they first according to like the fate of Istis is where they really do meet up, but also with the monks for the first time. I don't care like whether or not you like that timeline or not. I know Sean Reynolds decided to toss that, and had them monks even from the very beginning, and also, but I think it's quite neat if you tie it into the Orientals. Also, it's like, and somehow it also it's like that influenced them, and there's this subculture going on that they don't want to talk about because they are the superior race.
It's it's very cool that just that I'm not Mike and I are not fans of Scarlet Brotherhood taking over the world, right? But I see them as a good place. Yeah, I see them as a
I think they began to pull back on that anyways. And also it's like towards the end of the history. It also it's like even in Reynolds' book, it also they're beginning to lose control of just about everything. And also that they're already and they've lied about why they've lost ID and why they've lost Onwell and why they're not doing well in the Sea Princes. It's just because they've overextended themselves. They can't possibly control all this. Mike is a big fan of wiping them out.
Yes. I mean, we had that discussion on the Seafaring one last week, big time. So definitely. So, Mike, what are your thoughts about time frame adventuring and all? I know you're all over the place.
Time frame adventuring?
Well, you had or the Glossography.
I don't think I've ever ran a campaign pre 576.
Okay.
That's what's impressive. With my knowledge of different eras and where to set them, I never attempted it.
Okay.
Don't know why.
Well, the further back you go, you have to start pushing away the concept of the medieval campaign. It's like if you're going back to the beginnings of Airdian, it's like you're looking at like essentially a Roman Iron Age. It also it's like, and if you're going to go back as far as the Sul Imperium and at the beginnings of all that, you might as well be placing it at the middle end of the Bronze Age. And let's just call the Sul the Sumerians. Maybe that's the reason why it also like the names are so similar.
It's true. I mean,
Gary is correct. I flooded the Flannis. That's in the future. That's actually a Carl Sargent thing. Zildrilda, I believe, is a seer somewhere in the Greyhawk domain region, I think, and she predicts that I think it's a flood actually or some kind of disaster. She lives up on this real high tower, so she won't get flooded out.
Oh, she's the crazy one in the freaking wild coast.
Central, south of Divers. Yep.
Nice. Yeah. What do you think about that, Anna? When's your campaign now that you just started where your shield lands?
Well, for me, when I started back in the day, there was not much to go by because there was the box set and a few other things were the only thing we had. So that's why it's natural to start at 576, read the box set and just start playing with it. And
to jump back in there, Anna, sorry, I totally took Gygax's cues. Early on when I first got that box set, I assumed it was supposed to be a war-based backdrop. So all my campaigns, first edition, second edition,
all have wars.
Then I started to slow down in third edition. They were all had wars, without the Greyhawk Wars being officially introduced.
And in the beginning for me it was like so Temple of Elemental Evil became a big huge backdrop in the beginning because we didn't have much else, and also then the From the Ashes came, and back then I felt like I had to play it because it was the thing that was written. So I tried to make my version of it, but sticking to the general story. So we played against Ayusin Foryundi and stuff like that. So we basically played through the Greyhawk Wars. And then afterwards, I realized that now I can be much more freer, so to speak, so more free-spirited. So I kind of took the Living Greyhawk and put all the places and stuff in and say that, okay, then I started running adventures that was kind of free form, and I just started going in various directions. And I've always had my own internal timeline. So what happened in the previous campaign is carried over into the next one. But what I've done is that I've taken a new area because I wanted to learn and research and kind of get to know a different area. So every campaign the last 15 years have been set in a new area. And now I'm introducing Shieldlands. I never adventured in Shieldlands before, and now I felt like that was the area I wanted, both for cartography reasons, but also because I thought it was an interesting area. So now I'm diving deep into it. So
We
yeah,
should talk. I've been really pushing over into Shieldlands too, looking at
cool.
Shieldlands.
Yeah,
Like,
we should definitely do that. Yep.
So for me, at age, I don't know what year, whatever year this came out, I didn't start at 576. I started at 569 because you always
Okay.
want to be part of a bigger cause. Our first generation characters fought at the Battle of Emerald Meadows. Weren't we
Oh,
special when we were like
Nice.
17, 18 years old?
yeah.
So that's where we started, and just made sense because I love that story so much in the
Yeah.
book. And we're
And
still
I was
going on.
reading the history of Vietnam at the time, and also I was really developing mine. So I really ended up with that that so-called demilitarized zone of the and that slow burn that's happening on basically 3 fronts. I always thought of like Radek as being essentially like Israel in a way, and also it's like where it's literally this tiny strip of land, that's surrounded by everyone who's trying to wipe them off of the face of the earth. And so then divide your north and south. It also it's like 2 completely different cultures, and so you have an internal, not so much war, but a conflict within this country that is supposed to be so unified. But they always said that in the folio that the Timberway Forest was essentially Suloi's barbarians. So if the Great Kingdom came in and they conquered it, well, wouldn't it have been better? It also it's like to do the Vietnam thing, and also it's like the hearts and minds of the people. It also it's like and raise those, keep the power families in place. It also just get them to be part of your kingdom now. There's already a structure there.
Definitely take some stuff from what's going on in the world at the time, and maybe think about that a little bit when you're working up a campaign. Absolutely, I can see that.
Well, it's very different when you're doing it when you're in your say mid-20s versus, like you said, when you started your campaign when you're like 15, 16
12,
or something like
12.
that. It's like it's like Caves of Chaos.
Yeah, exactly. And like Mike did, I threw out wars. I had that big war between the Sea Princes and Keelan. So
yeah,
I tried that. It's so hard to control a war, though.
It is.
Yeah.
It is absolutely, especially with having a group of characters doing a major change to affect it. It's hard, but hey, that's what Monty Hall was back then, right? So, man, what an awesome discussion so far. I know we're already at the 2-hour mark here, and I know shout-outs are going to take forever tonight. So I'm going to have and I'm saying that I'm going to have Anna go first tonight, so that Mike.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, well, I'm in wrap up the 2020 mode right now, so I'm going to post something on my Patreon or on my website almost every day, I think, for the rest of the year with stuff that has been not been posted and wrapping up and stuff. So I posted some more my campaign stuff. That's part of what's coming out because I've started my campaign. We had a great session last Sunday. So that was a lot of fun and it was kind of awesome. So the village of Aldet, I put some village notes and sketches and stuff like that on my blog just to kind of show everybody what my own adventuring stuff is, meaning that, and bear with me, those maps and stuff are not professional. Those are quick sketches in order to keep up with the campaign because I need to make a settlement or 2 or 3 per week in order to kind of create with the go with the campaign and make notes and stuff. So that will come. And Then there will be more stuff about how the mapping goes about with the new generation of Greyhawk maps. There will be new refined symbols coming out that I need to look into for next year. And then there will be, yeah, so there will be tidbits of stuff. And there's also things that I've forgotten that I used to do years ago that I'm now digging up because I'm planning to get a new computer. So I'm digging through my archives and stuff to make sure I don't lose files and stuff. And I found some interesting stuff. So I'm going to make sure that that will become available too. So there will be some old stuff. There's new heraldry coming that I'm working on for my campaign and stuff.
Awesome.
And I've also read through I Use the Evil, and I found some interesting stuff there that I can't understand why I didn't see that last time I read it 10 years ago. So that is coming too. And so there will be a kind of update and a bunch of notes coming in on the map. And also there will be a presentation on the new generation of mapping coming as soon as I can kind of write down and make a file that is reasonably clean. So I hope to have an update or something almost every day for the rest of the year, and then
Nice.
we will look into Lindor Isles and a bunch of new projects coming up for next year. So there will be kind of a talk and a presentation on my goals and ideas and stuff for that too coming up. So, and I need to thank you everybody again for giving me so much support for this. This is fantastic. I've been able to take some weeks off and a whole month now to just do this and nothing else. And I'm having a blast doing it. So it's so much fun to dig into Greyhawk for like 12 hours a day. And it's awesome fun. So and the problem is that when I'm working a lot and I'm not talking to anyone or no one sees anything, but there will be cool stuff coming out and sketches and things and a whole bunch of stuff going forward. So,
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, Anna, thank you, and happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Mike, shoot away, man. What's going on with you for the holidays, or what do you got going on?
Well, first thing y'all need to do is go to Greyhawk Grognard and check out his latest write-up. He has a whole article on the Zindia region, which is quite amazing. It's similar to what he did with the Backlunish West Basin. So go check that out. I challenge anyone to come up with a better write-up than he's done so far. I don't know much about the region, so I'm gushing about it. Beyond that, just go to my blog here recently. I don't know if Gary or Anna saw this, but I have a top 10 Greyhawk holiday module list.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So have fun reading that if you haven't already. I think I got a link here. Yeah. So have fun. Merry Need Fest. Otherwise, I'll just see you on the next stream.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, Mike, to you too as well. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Tommy, what's going on, man?
Well, I'm distracted playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm not getting anything written on my blog. But like I was telling Anna, I'm kind of pushing over into Shieldlands and getting interested in the Great Northern Crusade. I think I mentioned that the last time I was on your show. And so I've been working on a campaign, getting ready to push into the, set some campaigns in the Great Northern Crusade in that time period. And
Cool.
so that's what is occupying most of my time and my attention right now. In terms of what I'm going to be posting on the blog in the future, I've actually been writing a Shieldlands piece on the story of Arthur Jakartai and writing the story of Arthur Jakartai in the style of Le Morte d'Arthur, which seems appropriate. And
Wow.
so that's been, that's like a lot of fun. And but that's just beginning. And then of course I've got the Hateful Wars all written out. I've just been posting them at a slow pace of once every couple weeks or once a
Nice.
week. So
Nice
that
tip.
just
That's a good way to do it because that gives you a lot of time to write the next one.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was my
That
thought.
takes months, man.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So that's what's up with me.
Awesome. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you too as well.
Yeah,
Thank
happy
you.
Need Fest. Yep.
Yeah. Mhm.
David, what's going on, man?
All right. Well, I've got a few irons in the fire, so to speak. And also, I think most people realize it. Also, it's like that. I've got the Greyhawk Musings Facebook page, which I just, I started just so I could start, like posting up the backlog of also like of my posts, and then it's evolved since then, and also me trying to showcase as many bloggers as possible, and I tried to remember to do theme days. And also it's like Mike is now becoming Saturday morning comics, and Tommy's becoming Monday fiction day and such. So there's that going on. So out of my blog, it also it's like I'm still scratching away. It also it's like at the stuff that's the age before ages. It also because that's like a confusing conundrum, to say the least. I've been trying to get ahead on some of those thoughts on classic modules and such. I've been doing more bios, it's like hopefully more obscure characters. It also like, and I just started doing some monster evolutions. It also it's like that I've yet to post anything of. Well, I got to get my ass in gear. It also it's like and actually write the finale for that Fistful of Baubles. It also it's like if that's the part 2 is coming out in the next for the winter edition of the OJ. I've been scratching at translating the Ekbir stuff. It also it's like from the Living Greyhawk days. It also it's like this. Well, it's all in France, so it's all in French. And also you can't find any English versions of it all. Oh, what else? And also, it's like I started scratching away at a long form fiction as well. It also, it's like that's kind of wrapping around also like Leomund, because it turns out it also it's like that I love that character tons more. It also it's like that Morgan Kanan and Bigby and so on. And oh yeah, well I've been trying to work out some notes. It also it's like for an adventure path. It also it's like up in the Northlands, and then I'm coming to the end. It also it's like of the Southeast histories, and so I've been wondering if I should tackle it also the Sheldamar Valley next or the Southwest next. And also I'll leave it up to the panel to give me a cue on which one they think I should do.
You got a lot going on. If you
Anybody want to do it? Should I do
I
Sheldamar?
What was
I
the
would
two options? What were the two options?
Sheldamar Valley history, or else the South, being like, the Medio and Het Monoline.
I would love to see the history of Vestvi.
That wasn't one of the options.
I know that, but that will be.
I like
super cool.
because well, Gary has his Keoland article. At least there's some history on the Sheldamar. So I think the Medio and the kingdom, the Ulman and all that would be fantastic.
That's kind of wide open. There's actually a lot of history on Sheldamar Valley.
Yeah,
that's a well-traveled.
Yeah,
well-traveled piece.
I like the Medio. I think.
Yeah,
that's
and
my
I know
vote.
whatever David would do will be fantastic.
Yes.
So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays to you too, David. Thank you.
One thing I think we should all say is we hope that that Will Dvorak, and also it's like it gets well soon. After all, he's been bedridden for a little while.
Wait. I didn't know Will got COVID.
Yeah, that's why he's straight. Like he hasn't been.
I didn't know that.
He says he's getting better.
Well, that's
he's getting better. Good. I just talked to him about it today.
Yeah.
It's great to hear. I did not know that. We all know. I mentioned it on the other stream that John Birchfield's wife got it as well, and that's why Blue Box has not been up for a couple days as well. So let's wish them all a speedy recovery. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to try not to forget anything here. So starting with, I'm going to enjoy the holidays. My son is really excited. Can't wait tomorrow for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. But we'll be back on Sunday night. I got a special guest. If you know anything about 5e and you know anything about the lazy DM, we have Mike Shea coming on Sly Flourish onto Gavin Sunday night, and he and I are he's going to do his 5e version of what his go-to references are, and I'm going to do my 1e, 2e version, and we're just going to exchange ideas. I think it'll be a really interesting conversation to have that. So I'm looking forward to having him on the show. Really a good. Knows his stuff. This I couldn't have a banner up because this gentleman did not tell me till the last minute. But I got streams Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. All right, so that's Sunday. Monday night we are playing just like we played yesterday, but I'm not DMing. The ever mysterious Tim will be DMing his City State of the Invincible Overlord campaign. We'll be continuing that next Monday. Okay, so you get to see Tim DMing on Monday, and we're gonna have I think Tim and myself will be. It's gonna be here, so we'll have all the miniatures and all. So look forward to that. I get a week off from having set up major terrain and all, but it'll be a blast. And then what the heck is Tuesday? I just lost Tuesday. Jeez, Jay, my gosh. Next Tuesday, because Sly Flourish is coming on, I'm going to have a bonus Gavin. I do it every year. Year in Review 2020, Tuesday night, and we'll see who wants to come on. We're just going to talk about all the great things. I mean, 2020 has been a shitty year for a lot of people. For the streaming world and for Greyhawk community, it's been a good year. So let's take a positive out of that and talk about everything that's happened as much as I can remember with the exception of Len passing, it was a really good year. You've been busy, Jimmy. Everyone's been busy. Yeah, absolutely. Wednesday night, we don't have a topic name yet for a week. I said to Anna, and Mike, let's worry about it over after Christmas. All right. Yep. Now we'll get a topic set up for Legends of Lore next Wednesday. All right, let's talk about some major things first. First thing, before this, I'm going to do some links up because Carlos is his first. So Carlos has, give me 1 second, and I'm going to copy and paste this stuff. This is Carlos's, oh my God, this thing scrolls by so fast. So Carlos's benefit is like 7-8 straight days. Carlos is running 11 games, I think. All right, here comes pasted in. All right, so
you're going from the 31st until the 7th.
Right, and there is his wording on that, and then here is the link, please. Okay, and this is near and dear to Carlos's and his wife's heart. So I am playing New Year's Day with Canadian Ancient Gamer, with Scott Fry, and Wily Hobbit, and a couple others. Here's the time slots he's looking for. He has 2 openings to participate and play. New Year's Eve, 8 p.m., 1 slot. 1 slot, January 5th, 8 p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. If you're interested, email or whisper, Carlos is on here now. Okay, there's 2 openings over all those games. He's got some really great personalities that are going to be playing in them. Also, Underdark Uprising is, the 3rd annual Greyhawk fundraiser event. Last year we had 5 Twitch channels involved, so we went 20 hours. I'm more like 22 because I always go late. This year we have 9 streams over 8 channels. So we have a minimum of 36 hours of content. Here is the schedule. I'm just going to blow this up just a little bit more so people can see it. All right. And if you need it, let me know. I have these in banner form. So this is Friday's schedule. Wily Hobbit, then Praetor's Rejects, then Steven Chanel from Troller Games is actually doing the DMing for him, the owner of Troller Games. Blue Box RPG, John Birchfield will finish up that night. So those are the first 4, and then Saturday, the crazy ever mysterious Tim starts at 4 a.m. Okay, and I want to say a thank you to Gitano and to Dwayne Prometheus. They're playing in that game. Tim, how many more do you need? Tim is looking for 1 to 2 more people, or 2 to 3 more people for 4 a.m. For the 4 a.m. game. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. 8 a.m. is Carlos's game, and Carlos is titled The Two Ends of the Chain. Carlos only has one player for that. So he needs 4 more players. If you're interested in that 8 a.m. game, and this remember is February 19th and 20th, please contact Carlos for that game. Wicked Studios at noon, Nightheart Gaming at 4, and then I will finish up the finale at 8. I got Eric Mona to commit to playing his legendary character Venarium Vord, who stole the tongue of Ruggiero Bloodmoon at the end of Greyhawk Con. Which means if he's playing, that means Gary has to play. Which means Mike has to play. Well, you got to play. You got to play Joey Koser, right?
Yeah.
His squire. You got to play this. Yeah. So there you go. So we're gonna have a blast.
We need to scramble in and get Gary a webcam.
He's got a webcam. All right. So note this.
Okay.
He's got one. He says we have. Reaper has officially sponsored this. Troller Games has officially sponsored this. I'm going to have all sorts of giveaway, complimentary gifts. We're doing this a little differently. It'll be quick and easy the way to donate. And I said with 9 streams, we should be able to double what we did last year. So my goal is $5,000 to be raised over these 2 days. We did 2,520 last year. Let's crush this. We'll have a lot of great stuff to give away to everyone, complimentary, and I'll have other sponsors too lined up. I just had to start getting this stuff out now. So if you want to participate in a game or you want to participate with a stream, contact that stream directly. Ask me, and I'll direct you to the right people. Contact Tim. Contact Carlos. We want everyone to participate and have fun with this. Alrighty? And we'll talk about Gary Con later on. We don't need to talk about Gary Con tonight. It's coming. So it's all Greyhawk. All Greyhawk stream, yes, all Greyhawk content, and we're not doing a main, like last year we did the Falcons. We did a story about the Falcon returning. This is going to be more like heavy metalish. It's too much to coordinate 9 streams, so I said it's got to be an Underdark themed game of some sort in Greyhawk. So everyone can do whatever they want with it, and I think it'll be a blast. So hopefully you all like that, and we'll have some fun. And we'll raise some money for Carlos's charity and for this is St. Jude Children's Research Hospital we've done, and looking forward to that for everyone. Let's give away some holiday gifts here. How about that? And we'll call it an evening. Sound good, everyone? I'll give anyone who wants to sign up. Give you 30 seconds. Anyone wants to sign up? I'm giving away 2 Troller Game gift certificates for $30 each. And that used to be, it was 25, but then something happened and Troller had messed it up, so they felt bad and they made him 30. So there you go. And then one Reaper Miniatures gift certificate for $25. And I got a bunch of these to give out, and then we'll be giving out more on Sunday, and we'll be giving out more next week too as the holidays continue. Alrighty, anyone? All right, I'm going to close this out. I have not hit a wrong button tonight yet, Jason, so something, it's going to happen sooner or later. All right, here we go. First winner. This will be for a Troller Games $30 gift certificate, and there's a lot of great things you can get from Troller Games. And the first winner is, look at Canadian Ancient Gamer. Look at that, Patrick.
Oh, wow.
Congrats, man, and your generosity is unbelievable. There you go. Congrats on that. Yes, there you go, man. I will send you the code.
Well deserved.
And absolutely. And the great thing about this is I don't have to mail anything on these. Yep. So congrats on that. Now on the next one, second $30 gift certificate to Troller Games. Okay. I will. Oh my. All right. I'll thank you. Thank you for that information. Dwayne Hewitt, Prometheus 2128.
Nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Dwayne is playing in Tim's game at 4:00 in the morning. So there you go. That's congrats. One more to give, and this one is for $25 to Reaper Miniatures. Once again, what a wonderful company they are. Here, last one. The winner is Bloodwild SW. Steve, I was just talking to you today.
Yeah.
All righty. Great. All fantastic followers and people who really are dedicated to the Greyhawk community and to all the streams, not just mine, but the entire community. So congrats on all of you. Thank you all very much. Just remember, we'll have a lot more. I'm assuming Mike Shea is going to be giving away some stuff too, some of his Lazy DM prep work stuff in PDF on Sunday. So we're going to have a lot of great stuff coming up. Any final things they want to say? Anyone want to say happy holidays? Yeah. Yeah, I had to share that. So one, Carlos just told me that John's looks like John is COVID positive now too, which is really, well, it's the second time he's had it.
Wow.
He had it in February of this year too. So wow, yeah. So say a little prayer for them. Make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
The box. Thank you for that information. I'll try and get in touch with them. Hopefully their Christmas isn't completely ruined. So
Yeah.
all right. We are going to raid into. Oh, is she off? Holy jeez! Now I can't find her. Give me 1 second. I was going to raid into someone that just recently kind of followed us on, but she may be offline. Darn it! I was going to raid into Alyssa Faden, who was doing
Oh,
a D. She was doing a D&D game, but now I don't see her.
Okay, she's not on anymore.
I don't see her. Ah,
Yeah.
crap.
She's too chaotic. Yep.
Oh man, that stinks. Now I got to find someone.
That's sad. Yep. We have to drag her in here someday. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm at a loss. I looked and I don't. Let me go and see if there's anyone runaway robots on. Oh man. I don't know half. There's so many streams now. All right, I'm gonna raid into this channel just because it sounds like a great name. Okay, Time Lord's wife. There you go. How's that? How's that?
Sounds like a doctor.
Hey.
Exactly, but it's a D&D stream.
Okay.
It's a
well,
D&D stream.
yeah.
So, who are the dining room guys? DM. I don't see them. Dining room guys. Oh yeah, I just raided into him though Sunday, so I want to raid into him twice in a row. So yeah, I'm gonna raid into Time Lord's wife. Let me get this going because I don't want to keep everyone up here. So we'll see you now. Watch. I'm gonna hit the wrong button now. See you Sunday. See you Sunday. Happy holidays to everyone. All right, let me get this going here. Sometimes you get lucky. Time Lord's wife. Don't know anything about the stream, guys and gals. So we'll see what it's all about. We're gonna quadruple their viewers.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Raiding in. Have a good one. Yeah, that was funny. I saw Alyssa Faden on. I'm like, oh, perfect time.
Yeah. And then she managed to hit.
You're a TARDIS.
So,
A lot of fun.
thank you for a great show, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, Thomas and David.
That was awesome.
for coming in.
Lifesaver.
Yeah, exactly. That was so much fun to have you on. Yeah, you need to
Thanks,
come back more often.
Thanks,